Okay, I'm live. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in this country of Canada. Hopefully, like some of you folks will start to trickle in here. Like I said, I'm just going to get used to or get to doing what I normally do, post the notification out to the social media pages. And in this video, as you can see, it's going to be a part two of the one I did yesterday, which was actually turned out to be a great conversation, as those of you who watched it. As I expected, because most people, if they're genuinely curious or inquisitive or actually want to talk about the issues, then you'll realize it's not that difficult to find out that most people, or at least you would hope to think or hope that most people are reasonable. And if you talk to them, you can draw that out of them. Nate obviously was a reasonable person, but there's definitely a lot of people. Actually, he's a minority in terms of the people who replied to my tweet in regards to the CERB, the big CERB, hashtag CERB that was trending yesterday, and I believe it was for 2 days straight. But anyways, like I say, let me just get this stuff sent out to. That one's going out to Facebook. And yeah, you hear about this stuff with Australia and now the Canadian government basically trying to bully the social media platforms to prop up the establishment media. Force Facebook to pay for establishment media. Nope, don't think so. I don't support that at all. Now let me get over to the Twitter. Might as well throw it up on the Twitter. Still no extra reply that I checked. I'll check actually here, but I'm not seeing all replies from Ed the Sock. Oh, like I said, I was hoping to be able to get him on here and have a conversation. Say, at the very least, how informative it might end up being, that's questionable, depending on the approach Ed took. But at the very least, it would be entertaining. Although I think, that's the thing. It's not necessarily Ed the Sock, right? It's the people that follow his channel or follow his tweets. I want to educate and inform people properly so that they're hearing things other than the kind of utopian nonsense that some of these lefties like Ed promote, like as if we could just have all free. We could all just live for free, right? Yeah, sure. Yeah, everything's free. All right, so there, send that off, and the mines as well. So let's go to get back into the management of the pages here. Let me go to, what's this? Okay. Let me see. Is there anyone that's joined the stream as of yet? Oh, we got a few people in here just waiting for maybe a few more to pop in. In the meantime, let's see, what can we cover here? Although there are a couple things, actually. Let me bring this up here. Because a lot of you folks probably, if you watch my past stream, realize that, and the headline was, and that's even people are pointing out, what's up with the headline? It doesn't even match. And let me bring it up so you know what I'm talking about here. Let me bring it up, shall we? There we go. So first, there was the Wuhan, the big pool party. I think most of you folks have already seen that, and whether it's on my own channel during my stream or just as it was being passed around and posted up on all the social media platforms, with the big pool party in Wuhan, right? You seen the picture with them up on the stage and all the throngs of people in the audience, and no mask, nobody wearing masks, right? And that was in Wuhan, right? With the epicenter of the COVID-19 outbreak. Well, we also have the schools that have gone back, and it's not just in the Western countries, but in the East as well, right? And these schools are going back in Wuhan, or they're already back in Wuhan, I should say. Just make sure you folks can see that fine. Yeah. Let me just. Okay, so as you can see, this was a post, AFP staff that was posted on September the 1st, 2020. And as you can see, it says, Wuhan, ground zero for coronavirus epidemic, reopens all schools. Weird that when the original post went up, the headline was mask-wearing students or something like that. It's like, well, obviously someone had to point out, yeah, you might want to change your headline because it's exact opposite of the picture contained within your article, right? And actually, I've had to clarify that. It's like, hey, I didn't write the headline, sorry, but as you can see, someone has updated it. It was updated, the latest update. Actually, it was only a minute later, so maybe if that was the headline they had to do it real quick, I guess. But either way, it was obviously updated to reflect the reality, because if you look at the picture, it says, I don't know if you can read that text, but elementary school students attend a class on the first day of the new semester in Wuhan. So yes, no, it's because people were asking, well, was that the wrong picture? Did they use the wrong picture for the article? No, because it says right there, it was on the first day, back the first semester, I guess, in Wuhan. So, but as you can see, I mean, the picture speaks a 1,000 words, right? Or more than 1,000 words, actually. But think about the volumes that's being said in this picture. In Wuhan, the epicenter of COVID-19, not one of those students. And not only they're not wearing a mask, but they sure as hell aren't sitting 6 feet apart or social distancing in any way either, right? So look at that. And yeah, it's not just China. That's the strange thing that I'm really having a difficult time coming to terms with these days, is some of these countries that we're taught are so authoritarian, and they may very well be, and I'm sure they are in many ways for sure. But when you're doing the comparisons these days, and especially in response or in relation to the COVID-19 outbreak and the response of governments, well, obviously we see in Wuhan when they were basically, there was the pictures that came up of they were welding people or shutting people into their households, right? So that's bad for sure. Definitely don't agree with that nonsense. But this is a big difference. This is a major leap in an opposite direction, that suggests that, look, there's a lot more freedom, a lot more individual choice. And matter of fact, the choice is being made apparently by all these students that, yeah, I'm not wearing a mask. Screw that. I'm not going to school and sit with a stinking ass raggy thing or a mask on my face all day long. No, and like I say, and that's not just the only picture too. Is if you scroll down a little bit further down in the article, you'll see another picture, related images, right? Teachers gave pupils on an honors guard as they arrived at school in Wuhan for the first time in 7 months. So as you can see, no mask there. Look at how close proximity are, literally shoulder to shoulder, right? Faces almost touching each other in one part of the picture there. So I mean, come on. And then, like I say, that's just in China. But how many times we hear how authoritarian Russia is too, right? And like I say, not suggesting that they're not, but let's deal with, when we're talking about the reaction, the response of COVID-19 and big governments all around the world. Look at what's happening. All the students that are going to Canada to school in Canada, or for the most part in Canada, yeah, even kids, just little kids in elementary schools, some of them, right, are being told, nope, you got to mask up, you got to socially distance. They're having a massive amount of restrictions imposed and placed on them. That's going to, like I say, going to affect their psychology as they grow into adults at some point in time. And even the teachers are having to be muzzled up, right? So think about that response. Meanwhile, not just in China, but also, let me bring this up. Well, looky here. And being reported on by the CBC of all places. Like I say, CBC, that constant promotion of that top-down authoritarianism. Well, look at that. Look at this. Look at the difference there. Maybe you should be more aligned with this kind of autonomy and this kind of freedom, which is a sad thing to say that this is coming out of Russia. Out of Russia, folks. So as you can see, it's a headline article, and it's not just CBC, the media, lots of media outlets will be covering this today. But anyways, temperature checks and no masks. School is back in Russia, but classes are much the same. Colorful ceremonies survive as administrators try to keep COVID-19 out of schools. This is reported by Chris Brown, September 4th, so 7 hours ago, 2020. And as you can see, once again, look at all those students. Look at all those young, smiling, happy faces, although some of them may be a little, sometimes when it's your first day back at school, maybe, little concerning for your students, depending, right, who you are. But as you can see, definitely not sitting there muzzled up. And that's a beautiful thing to see, that these kids are not being treated in such a manner or having that fear-mongering tactic used towards them. Because as we've seen time and time again, that students are actually, or young people, aren't, dying in droves or actually, getting over this virus or contacting it quite and having quite simple, it's just like a regular cold or the flu for the overwhelming majority. Now, once again, we always got to keep in mind that there is always that outlier, that exception where there's somebody with the conditions that might lend them to be more susceptible to suffering grave harm or some kind of health-related issue if they contact the virus. But the overwhelming majority of kids, like I'm talking in the high 99 point whatever percentile range, yeah, no need to muzzle them up. And as we're finding out time and time again, and today they're saying, yeah, don't even expect a vaccine until at least, mid 2021. So yeah, no muzzling up. The virus is out there. It's gonna remain out there. So yeah, do your best, like I say, to protect the vulnerable, but let nature take its course as best you can. And this, like I say, and we'll get over this hump, this hurdle, this outbreak at some point in time. And the sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned. Prolonging the inevitable, that's just once again, extend and pretend, right? Wow, if that isn't part and parcel of what the establishment has been doing for a long time, I don't know what is. Anyway, so let's just do a little bit of reading up here. See what's going on over in Russia. As Russian children returned to school this week after a 6-month break, there was little sign of mask or physical distancing, but plenty of evidence of other measures to try to keep COVID-19 out of the country's classrooms. We're so glad that they are back to school in a more traditional format, and not how it was in March and April. Parent Sergei Yerofeev told CBC News as he waited proudly with his 5-year-old son, Sasha, at the school in Balashika, a bedroom community about 30 kilometers outside of Moscow. Like many other countries, Russia stopped classroom learning in March as coronavirus cases increased, leaving kids to take their classes long distance. CBC News asked to visit the school to survey the COVID-19 precautions brought in by Russia's government, and administrators agreed. So very good on Russia, considering the kind of nonstop hatred and vitriol directed at Russia by the CBC. Very good on the Russian administration and the Russian government to say, yeah, even though the chances are you folks will probably try to misrepresent us in some way, is, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you're welcome here. It's called freedom of the press, I guess, right? And freedom of people's ability to report on things in particular countries, which, yeah, we're having a lot more difficulty in Canada, it seems, than they're having in Russia. Anyway, so the first day of class is known as Den Zani, I guess, or whatever, or Day of Knowledge, and is meant to be a celebration of education. With the kids carrying plentiful flowers for their teachers and their desks decorated in balloons, parents voiced relief that even in the midst of a pandemic, some traditions and ceremonies had not been sacrificed in the battle against COVID-19. So once again, there's another picture of looks like 2 fine parents and some few other folks. I don't know if they're teachers, administrators, or whoever they are, but look, nobody's wearing masks, right? That's a healthy sign of people that aren't cowering in fear, right, from a virus that really only truly affects or is detrimental, or the effects are detrimental to people that are really, really vulnerable, or people in long-term care facilities, people like that are really, really old and vulnerable, right? So of course, and this is a beautiful thing to see. But once again, here in Canada, right, under the premiers and the federal government, it's constantly the fear porn, the fear mongering. Oh, we got to scare all Canadians, scare them into submission, bully them into submission, I would suggest. Anyway, so like I say, folks, there you go. There's 2 examples, and yeah, those will be placed in the link of this stream. But there's at least 2 examples of China and Russia, right? The countries that are supposed to be so much worse in terms of respecting people's freedoms, right? Actually given their citizens more freedoms that has even taken place in Canada. So yeah, I hang my head in shame, right? Terrible, terrible precedent that's taken place in the West these days. So let me just bring that off here, okay? And see if a few more folks have joined into the stream. Oh, there we go. Yep, a few people in here. Right on. Nice to see you folks joining in there now. Hey, good morning. Government propaganda in Wuhan. Well, no, but that's the thing. The CTV News, and it was AFP, the Associated Press, and I think the F is for foreign correspondents or whatever. But anyways, it was actually Canadian media outlets, right? So, and I don't know why they would want to use propaganda that goes against or makes them look bad or the Canadian government look bad. That's usually not what the establishment media in this country tries to do, right? So, I don't know, not 100% sure I would agree with you on that one. But anyways, let me bring these up. So John Chalmers, hey, what's going on, John? The international bankers and in specific the Federal Reserve have pretty well given the go-ahead to the world's governments to drink from the trough of fiat currency. It seems that way, doesn't it? Seems that way, doesn't it? And really what we're going to really find out just how far this kind of experiment, right, of creating wealth out of thin air, we're going to see just how far the authoritarians or the leftists or the collectivists, the socialists, the communists, the fascist types are willing to take it. Because, Trudeau's, it's waiting in the winds, right? That the big announcement, they're going to revamp Canada's economy in a way that you won't recognize. Just like, you won't recognize Canada when I'm done with it. Yeah, he wasn't joking. It was a threat. And I guess Canadians didn't take him quite serious enough. But I bet many of them are now, right? Because he definitely is implementing his strategy and his goal to turn Canada into a basic dictatorship, something akin of China. Although, like I said, Justin, you're going the opposite way that your Chinese counterparts are going. So you might want to think of that. You can't even get that right, huh, Justin? But yeah, for sure. Well, like I say, we'll see how crazy things unfold. Well, that's what I mean. If a UBI, and they're definitely pumping up the promotion of EBI recently. So there's that to keep mind of, right? They're open for business. Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. It's wild to see, like, some of these countries where their citizens are being treated more like adults and given their freedoms much more than we're seeing here in places like Canada. That's a sad reality, folks. Does China have enough of a landmass for all of its people to sit 6 feet up? Oh, for sure. Oh, 100%. No problem. Actually, I remember there was a thing, you could fit all 7 billion people on the entire planet in, I forget, you'd have to look it up, but actually that's the beautiful thing about having Google and access to this kind of information. You just search it up real quick and you'll see that actually because people, all kinds of people that love figuring these kind of mathematical things, have already done that. And yeah, I don't know if it's one state even. I think it might have been even one state in the U.S. has enough geographical landmass to put all 7 million people inside of it and give them, so where they have their own space to live within. So there's that. According to Canadian government stats, the average life expectancy is 82. The average age of COVID-19 death is 84. I know, right? Well, that there is just, that's a lazy way of when they use it's really what it comes down to is how averages can be reported. So you got means, median, and mode, right? So that's the issue with when you do these averages. Averages, yeah, sometimes they can be good to at least give someone at least a semblance of understanding. Like it's like a snapshot, right? When you're using these averages. But really, if you want to be properly informed, is you can't usually just go by averages when you're talking about these kind of numbers or statistics. Like I say, they can be helpful in some way. But to truly know or to be informed what these numbers represent, you got to dig down deeper into those numbers, right? And figure out what does it actually mean? Where is it truly applicable? Because sometimes, like I say, the macro picture, it's good to look at the macro picture for sure. I'm one of those people, I love to step back and look at the macro picture. But if you're only looking at the macro picture, well, you're leaving a whole lot of the finer details, right? The higher resolution stuff, you're leaving that out of the equation. So, like I say, it's a balance. It always comes down to being balanced, right? Think about these things more critically. And when they're talking about averages and those numbers don't make sense, like ask yourself, why could that possibly be? And like I say, it's because of the way that you can use averages in terms of means, mode, and median. Mean, mode, and median. Right, sorry. But yeah, so there's that, like I said. Long-term effects of SARS-CoV-2 are cancer and or organ failure or multiple organ failure. Well, we don't know that quite as of yet because we haven't had long enough time, right, to SARS-CoV-2. Well, CoV-2, that's, yeah, so SARS, because I know there was the CoV-2 you're talking about, because CoV-2 is applicable for COVID-19, but SARS, I believe that's just another way of saying, right? COVID-19. Let me check that out. But once again, when you say a statement like that, so you're saying that everyone that gets SARS, that's what they have? Because, you got to be more nuanced. If you're going to put statements like that out there, right? Don't get people like, think about if someone read what you put out there and they took you seriously. That's what you put out there. It literally suggests that what is everybody? So SARS-CoV-2. Yeah, let me just check here. Let me just double check on that. SARS-CoV-2. SARS-CoV-2. So yeah, it just comes up with the yes. So it comes up as just COVID-19. That's kind of what I thought, anyways. SARS-CoV-2 is just a yeah. Okay, so there you go. From the Lancet, so the scientific journal Lancet. SARS-CoV-2 is an appropriate name for the new coronavirus. So yeah, it's just another way of saying COVID-19. But anyway, so yeah, this COVID-19 hasn't been around long enough that you can make a statement like saying that long-term effects are cancer and or organ failure. Probably not yet. They still haven't figured out entirely, a lot of things that cause cancer, right? So, and that have been in the field of study for decades. So, like I say, I would kind of be a little bit more hesitant before I would ever suggest that that's the case. Drug dealers are making hand over fist these days in Canada. Tax-free income with a $3,000 monthly bonus courtesy of the government. Right? Not to mention they have no risk of arrest in these times. Oh, actually they do, John Doe. Actually, no, they actually do have a risk of arrest these days. They do, because actually there are actually more laws on the books now. And once again, you can check this out. You don't have to rely on my opinion or my perspective. If you believe I'm wrong or incorrect in some way, just look up how many laws are on the books today post legalization, and actually you'll see that yeah, there's actually more laws on the books or arrestable offenses now than there was prior to legalization. Because yeah, in this modern Orwellian world, that's how the cookie crumbles these days, unfortunately and sadly, right? Hey, what's going on, the Wizard Online? Hey, hi all. Hey, hi. Someone else, looks like someone did a donation here, so hold on one sec there, folks. Hey, what's going on, Blunt News? Where's your Bitcoin address? Oh, right, you'd have to go to one of my regular videos. Sorry, actually, you know what? I haven't been monetizing any of my streams because YouTube just keeps demonetizing them or limiting ads and doing all this thing. So I'm not making anything off these anyway. So I basically haven't been doing my normal ad and that in all the descriptions of my stream. But you know what? I really appreciate, because if you would help me out in some way by donating to my Bitcoin address, that would be great. And I will post that I will post all of my details actually in the description of this stream, just so that you do have it there. But if you want right now, if you just go to my YouTube channel and click on any of my regular video uploads, just the regular uploads, not the YouTube stream, or not the live streams, but my regular video uploads. And it's been a while since I've had a regular video upload, but just go even to the last one that I was done, and you'll see that all that information, my Bitcoin address, PayPal, Patreon. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Bitcoin, PayPal, and Patreon. Yeah, so those links are all there in the description of my videos. And like I say, I'll definitely remember to put the links in the description of this stream as well. But thank you very much for the $5 donation. I really appreciate that, Blunt News. That's awesome. Awesome. And if you're going to do a donation of Bitcoin, that would be really, really appreciative too. Because that's another thing I've been saying to folks, and I basically give it up, is like, because I don't like begging for nothing. That's like whatever. Right? Part of me is like, I'd rather starve to death on the street more or less than ask people, because it just feels, it really does feel weird, even though I'm only asking. Like, I'm not demanding, I'm not forcing or anything, but it does feel weird. So I kind of haven't really been doing that. But obviously that is the one key thing that's very important, is people keep saying, well, what can we do? Well, the world runs on money. Pretending otherwise, it's well, once again, it's to live in a delusional state, is to pretend that money doesn't have a lot of power these days. It definitely has a lot of power, right? And if the people who are always making or being economically advantaged are the ones that are part of central planning or big government or these crony corporations or the bad or the evil or the vile people, if they're the ones that are only being rewarded and compensated economically, then those of us who are trying to challenge or battle against them, like, we're trying to do it with our hands and feet tied behind our back. So it would be nice to be financially supported enough where, like, there's a tremendous amount of things. If I had like actual financial support, not only would I want to start businesses, but there's a multitude of ideas that I could put to good use with that money. But like I say, you need money to make money, and you need money in order to battle against those who have the greatest possession of money. So I'm pretty good. Like I can do a lot with very little, but I can only punch so much above my weight, right? There are limitations and restrictions, but once again, thanks. I appreciate that blunt news. Okay, what else do we got here? Since the average age of death for someone from the virus is longer than the average life expectancy for a Canadian in general, I'm hoping to catch the virus and live longer. yeah, good point, John. That's pretty funny, right? Yeah, me too. Masks don't work. Well, that's the thing, Gail. Like, that's the thing. If you say it, you're absolutely correct. But your counterparts are going to throw back at you that, yeah, but it can reduce the potential of contact the virus by a fraction or a percentage. And in that regard, they're correct. But once again, it's not even the fact that whether it's 100% effective or only slightly effective. Those are arguments that can be made for sure. And those are arguments that are definitely taking place all over, not just the Canadian landscape, but I guarantee in pretty much every country on the planet these days. But it's even if it does, you don't have any right, you have no authority to force me to put a muzzle or a mask on my face. If you think that I'm a threat to you, if you think that you could contact coronavirus from me just by me walking by you or by being in close proximity, then like I say, it's the personal responsibility of you, unless you own that place. Like if you own that place, if that place is your property, you own that, then you have the right to say, no, you get out. You're not allowed to hear. But if it's a public space, or a private space that you don't own, then it's up to you to protect yourself. If you're scared to go out in public because there are other people out there that won't be wearing masks or who refuse to wear masks, people like myself, then you stay the fuck away from me. The minute you see someone walking down the street without a mask, then don't expect me to walk all over the place because I'm not scared to walk down the street. You are the one that should walk across the street, or walk back the other way and inconvenience yourself, right? You take care of yourself. I don't care what you do. That's personal responsibility, and that is your sovereignty. That is your God-given right to do what's right to protect yourself. But you have no right, you have no authority to force me to protect you. That is not my duty. That is not my responsibility. And that's what would be considered a positive claim. So that's you claiming some positive right to force me to do something. Now the only thing that you do have a right is to prevent me from using force, theft, or causing harm to you. You have that, right? If I'm trying to use force preemptively. But if I'm just walking down the street, right? No, you got to protect yourself. That, like I say, personal responsibility goes a long way. And no, you can't. You have no right. Nobody has any right or authority to force me to protect you. So that's the argument that I make. And there's lots of other arguments to make about that too. But that's one of the biggest things that I would make to a person that's constantly these pro-mask people that just constantly, like, you just got to wear a mask basically anytime you're out in public or you're in a public space or even a private space or private dwelling. It's like these people that keep talking that or out in the open or outdoors. It's like, nope. You don't get to force or mandate me to do anything. You take care of yourself. That's personal responsibility, and I'll do the same. And then, like I say, that's what freedom is all about, folks. You get your freedom to take care of yourself. I won't prevent you from doing what you need to do, and you don't prevent me from doing what I need to do. So that is the beauty. That's the beauty of individual freedom and liberty, is I don't get to impose myself on you, and you don't get to impose yourself on me. So that's like I say, that's my reply in response to the maskers, right? The ones that want to constantly deride and insult and bully and intimidate and force into compliance people like myself or people like Gail. How come they've been sitting on the autopsies for over 2 months from the elephants that died in Botswana? That I have no idea. No idea about elephants in Botswana. There's lots of stuff that I definitely look to concern myself about. But like I say, I just can't be privy to every bit of information or news out there. So yeah, I can't answer you when it comes to that. Hey, what's going on, Quebecer? The Quebecer. How you things? The minimum wage increase going to affect everything? Of course. Well, like I was saying in my stream yesterday, for people that think that whether it's minimum wage increases or even if they somehow transition CERB into a UBI, well, just expect everything to start doubling and tripling in prices to reflect that whatever promised amount of income or wealth or that's going to be redistributed to you. Because that's the thing, to believe that you're going to take advantage or gain or benefit in some way when you are in the positions of power or authority, right? No, it's the people, it's those big corporations, it's big government, it's the connected part of the ruling class who are going to benefit from, if you have more money to spend, that's more of the money that they get to take back from you, right? So they're going to get it all back. They're going to claw it all back. And you'll see as soon as you get that raise or they implement a UBI, that mandatory or that minimum wage increase, or like I say, that UBI, then you'll see the price. If you think inflation is bad now, I mean, the price of food, especially, and housing costs, all those staples that we need to sustain ourselves. If you think they're expensive now, wait till you see what happens. Like I say, when there's a UBI or, these constant increases, because I've watched increases in the minimum wage, like I said yesterday on my stream, since I was 15 years old. And it still works out the same way. Inflation, the direct consequence of monetary stimulation or printing money or government schemes is it just literally gives the people that you don't want that money to be going to, like I say, the corporate execs, big government, the big wigs, the elitists, they're the ones that are going to benefit from it because they're going to claw all of that back from you, right? 100%. So if your cheese now as you're seeing a lot of cheese now that's being sold now all the way down to 400 grams, used to be 500 grams, then it went down to 450, but the prices were still as high, if not higher. Now I see the wife's bringing the cheese home from the store now, and it's 400 grams. Well, what's up with that? But yet the price is still the same, if not higher. So like I say, if you think that's bad enough, we'll see how that happens, on steroids, where everyone automatically has an extra couple $1,000s a month or for the rest of their lives. Like I say, you'll get a very, very, very tiny window where you might have some economic benefit, and then it'll be clawed back in very short order, and you're back in the exact same position or mess you're in. Although at that time, now you have everyone basically as indentured servants or economic slaves to the ruling class and relying on big government for their income. That's, like I say, that's not an experiment that I want to try or undertake. So that's what I'm thinking. Minimum wages. And once again, when people hear like a libertarian like myself that say we're against minimum wages, it's not that I want people to be paid less. It's I want people to be paid fairly based on what they bring to the table, what they bring to the employer, what they bring to the business. Treating everyone the same. And like I said this before too, how many times have you seen in a workplace where everybody does the same, has the same level of competency or the same work ethic? That's not the case. Every place you've ever worked in your life, there's usually a small select group or a few individuals that pick up most of the slack while the rest, find as many ways as they can. They put a lot of effort into finding ways not to do work, right? Or do as least or the least amount of work as humanly possible, right? And still bring home the paycheck. So come on, like I say, pretending that we should all be treated equally in terms of wages is to pretend that we all have the same work ethic or competence, intelligence, or abilities or skills, right? Which is not the case. Never has been and never will be. So that's my thoughts on that there. Quebecer, the Quebecer. Australia's looking, holy crap, Australia. Yeah, did you see that with the military guy this morning? Let me bring that up actually there. I'm glad you brought that up. Let me see if I can bring that bad boy up. Was it a YouTube video that I saw this morning? I'll check it. Yeah, I think it was Rebel News. So that should be right in my history here. Let me just check that real quick there, folks. That was pretty disturbing, right? Oh yeah, by the way, free speech is a new video that has just been uploaded today by Tim Mullen and Dave Bimbaum, the Liberty Experts. I see that just came up today, and check them out. Go subscribe to Tim Mullen, the Liberty Experts, and this video. It's actually not too bad. 13 minutes and 51 seconds long, and it's titled "Free Speech." And I'll be definitely checking it here a little bit. But yeah, here it is. Ex-soldier. So watch yourself out there, and they definitely seem to be wanting to come after the men and women. Although I would say no, overwhelmingly the men of the military these days. Hey, wait a minute, is this thing proper? Oh, damn. Oh, damn. You mean I've been doing that with the wrong setting this whole time? Oh, crap. This thing should have an automatic thing. After a couple minutes, set it so it goes back to the automatic setting. Damn, that means I did both of my streams yesterday. Zoot. Anyways, so let's bring this up since who brought this up in the stream here? Oh, yeah. Blunt News. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Blunt News. And I'm going to pull that video up here for you. Oh, now I do got to put it back. So I guess whatever, right? Share screen. Okay, there we go. Check and make sure everyone can see that. You sure can. You sure can. Here, let me move. Wait, let me put that back and do it this way instead. There we go. Yeah, we'll do it that way instead. There, that's better. That way I don't lose my audio. You can still hear me now, right? I hope so. I hope so. Anyways, let's get this video on the roll here. Come on, Bennett.
Victoria this morning, a former Australian soldier has dramatically been arrested after posting a video last night telling his friends, family, and followers that he was going to the protest tomorrow, the Freedom March in Melbourne, Australia, but making it clear that he cannot encourage others to do so, obviously trying to avoid an incitement charge. Have a watch.
All I want to say right now is that I'm going to go. I can't encourage or I can't recommend, I can't suggest anyone else to go because you're all adults and you can make up your own mind. You do what you want to do. If you want to go, sure. If you don't, sure, right? But I'm going to go at a distance, check it out, like even if we can get into the area because there are going to be a lot of people still going.
So it's quite clear that the former soldier was trying to avoid an incitement charge, telling his followers that he's going, but he's not telling them to go in an effort to avoid an incitement charge similar to those that we've seen laid across our state in the last few days leading up to this protest tomorrow. But his efforts didn't work. No success, because this morning, watch what happened.
Yeah, because I'm trying to talk to you first. You're not telling me what you're doing. Yeah, what's it? Search warrant for what? What gives you the authority to have a search warrant? Whoa, you do that. You know what? Leave my shit. Don't break my stuff, you fucking retard. Hey, stop breaking my shit. Leave my shit. Whoa. Yeah, hey, all right, stop. I'll stop. Okay, all right. Okay, stop. Stop resisting. You're turning your hand behind your back.
That is intense, to say the least. Now, whether you support the protesters or you don't, one thing is for certain, this sort of forceful policing, enforcement, tough enforcement, we haven't seen in the state of Victoria in a very long time. We've been overrun by youth gang crime here for the last 5 years.
So,
A
yeah.
lot of people were complaining.
Oh, here, let me turn that off.
A lot of Victorians thought that policing had become...
And I will put that in the description of the stream as well. But yeah, pretty disturbing stuff. Right? The guy literally made sure that he said the right thing to prove that, yeah, I'm not inciting anything. I'm just going to show up to a protest, right? But all as you're seeing, the order followers, that's the problem with people and that's a big major issue I have with people, especially on the right side of the political spectrum these days. Stop with your mindless support for the order followers. As you see, those are the ones, whether you got a liberal government or a conservative government or an NDP government or a green government, whatever government we're going to end up with in this country. And no matter how draconian or how authoritarian they go, it is precisely those order followers, the police, the enforcers of the state, who are the ones that are going to do this shit. So please give it up with your goddamn virtue signaling of law and order, when in reality, all you're doing is licking the boots that may very well be stepping on your fucking neck, right? Can you stop with your nonsense, please? Be a little bit more nuanced, because this blind conformity, just like with people on the left, when I hear this blind conformity of your religious, almost dogma-like ideologies of whether it's conservatism or liberalism, although none of them actually properly represent what those words even properly entail anymore, right? That's the other major issue, is nobody even wants to identify who they truly are or what their ideology is that they truly hold near and dear to their heart, because most people in Canada today are either fascistic, communist, or socialist. That is just a blatant fucking reality. And if you don't believe me, just go out there and talk to them, right? Right. They're a bunch of collectivists. They don't talk anything like a liberal in the classical sense of what a liberal would be, or an actual conservative, a limited government conservative that actually would want the state to be greatly, greatly reduced and not have all these stupid rules and regulations affecting the economy and monstrous and massive bailouts to the bankers, the banksters, right? That constantly keep Canadians, under their thumb with these bank bailouts, because that's the thing. Now, even if you never go to a bank, you say, oh, I'm not dealing with banks. Well, you're dealing with them because they're forcing you to bail them out. And that happened under the Harper regime, a conservative government in Canada. So once again, you got a bunch of authoritarian collectivists and basically socialist, communists, and fascists living in this country that are going around masquerading and pretending that they're anything remotely resembling a liberal or a conservative under the classical sense in what Western societies, those words are supposed to mean. But yeah, very disturbing stuff to see that kind of stuff taking place. Very disturbing. Not happy to see that stuff at all. Okay, what do we got? Bureaucrats alarmed over Trudeau's mega spending. Yeah, and even if you even get the bureaucrats alarmed over some of this crazy nonsense that Trudeau, I mean, he's already spent what? Over $1 trillion, $250 billion, right? I mean, come on, they're talking about maybe upwards of $500 billion. Like basically, what is Canada's economy? What, 1 point something trillion? So what? Are you going to get to the point where basically half of Canada's GDP in what, a year or so? You're going to pump up that much debt in one fucking year? $500 billion. Like I said, figure out how much money you could just literally have helicopter money, spreading it all around, right? From one coast to the coast to the coast. And it still probably wouldn't equal up to that $500 billion. That's a tremendous amount of money, folks. And what? Yeah, they get to pick who it's going to. Now, one thing I would say, at least under UBI, even though I know that would bring the ultimate crash of the Canadian economy that much quicker, hasten the pace, right? But at the very least, it would be something remotely resembling, at least he's pretending that he cares about all Canadians, because at least if all 37 million Canadians got a government subsidy or handout, no questions asked, then it's like, okay, well, at least it's non-discriminatory. At least there's one thing that they're doing, even though I disagree with it vehemently, because I know, like I say, we can't all live off of printing money. Like, well, that's not how wealth works. That's not, that's not how you create value in society, right? So, I can't believe I have to even say this stuff, but yeah, welcome to Canada in 2020. But I mean, at least under that scenario, like I say, everybody gets something. But the way the government's been rolling these stuff out, it's just, are you buddies with the government? Do you support the liberals? Are you a lefty? Are you a collectivist? And here, we got you. Matter of fact, foreigners, right? Illegal immigrants, people that aren't even supposed to be in this country. Here you go. But hey, if you're a libertarian in Canada, fuck you, starve in the streets, right? So I guess they don't really care much in terms of equity or equality at all. No, like I say, it's always about picking winners or losers in society or the economy. And under the Trudeau liberals, well, it's feminists, it's the LGBT. Well, look at who the people are that he constantly virtue signals to, and that's the kind of people that's going to make out like bandit under these big government spending programs. That's who's going to benefit, not the average Canadian. Definitely not the average Canadian, and not even a lot of the people that are blindly supporting the federal liberals. Yeah, you folks will get screwed too. It's just that he's going to wait and do that after he's screwed people like myself over first, right? Oh, my God, man. I love it, Gail. Mr. Dress Up. Yes, I love it. Yeah. Well, I mean, not just the Chinese, but yeah, he's definitely picking winners and losers. Hey, what's going on, Anna M? Oh, it's getting a little warm in here. Must be getting warmer outside. I got the old ceiling fan on, but it's just not cutting it. Woo. UBI means that people will be able to have enough money to survive, and they choose what to do with it. Pretty adult to me. No, that's the thing, Anna. You got to understand economics. Like, listen, here's the thing, and I'll gladly, if you want, I'll bring you onto this. I don't want to, I don't want to insult or deride you. I'm just saying that you obviously, based on this, I mean, if you understand economics, you would realize that no, that's not how wealth or value is generated, right? If that was the case, then I mean, why don't just give every Canadian $1 million? Right? If you can just print money to create prosperity and wealth, well, then why stop at just a puny little like check of like what, $2,000 a month? Why stop there? If you're that compassionate, if you're that benevolent, then hey, give every Canadian $1 million a piece, and think of how much more prosperous they would be, right? Think about, and all the increase in GDP that would be, right? Think of all the social programs you could pay for, right? Let's see, that's not really how it works. That's not, it's really not. And the minute you try to get closer and closer to that point and destroy the incentives of people that actually want to do the right thing and work for a living and provide and produce that kind of wealth or value in society, well, once people realize that the game's rigged, the people are actually economically and financially astute. Once you've sent the message to them that we're just going to print money to create prosperity, and everything that you do, all that hard work and effort that you do to produce wealth or value in society, well, that's valueless or meaningless, or only as valuable as someone that's sitting home on their ass that's getting a government check. Well, you've destroyed the incentive of anyone. Well, you get your Venezuela moment where, or not just Venezuela, any country in the world that's gone more towards the full-on socialism, not this mixed economy that we currently function under, where they still allow some capitalism to take place. Once you go full-on socialism, then yeah, you'll see the brain drain. You'll see where people will escape and go to wherever there is left on this planet, which is mostly the US, where you still can, where there are still some areas where innovation, entrepreneur, and genuine value and wealth creation is allowed and takes place, right? So, and not just the US, there are plenty of countries on this planet that understand fundamentally, right, that no, you need wealth creators, and Switzerland is definitely one of those countries as well, that you need wealth creators, and there's a very good reason why gold is trading at or near $2,000 an ounce these days, because people are hedging against this, because yeah, that value of the dollar, it can change in a heartbeat. And once you've devalued a currency beyond the point of no return, well, it becomes, like I say, whether it's the Bolivar in Venezuela or the whatever that note was down in Zimbabwe that they printed to the tune of what, trillions and trillions of dollars. It's now worth less than toilet paper, right? So sorry, but like I say, I understand if you don't understand micro or macroeconomics in the proper sense, and understand, like, it does require, not just to be an astute observer, but to be someone that's constantly trying to educate themselves to be properly astute in terms of economic fundamentals. So I understand if you might be ignorant to that, but once again, UBI is not anything like what you're suggesting. It is literally going to be a detriment to the very people who want to and do generate wealth and prosperity in society. So just have to point that out to you there, Anna. No offense to you, like I say, but yeah. Sorry, that's another area we're not all equal in our competence or our knowledge in regards to economics. And that's another weird thing these days is so many people like get on these social media platforms and espouse stuff like, damn, grade school students are probably wiser than you in so many regards. Like, aren't you embarrassed to say such things publicly? Not saying you in particular, but like I said, I see it all the time. And maybe I'll cover a few of those tweets actually in response to my CERB post on Twitter, my CERB tweet, because wow, some of the stuff people said on there is like, wow, are you a child? Because your mind operates and functions like one, it seems, like a very small adolescent one that's ignorant to a lot of things as well. Texas, everything's big in Texas. I love Texas. I like the idea of Texas. The culture of the Texas, big fan of Texas. Matter of fact, if I moved to the US, Texas is like very high on the list of the states where I would want to move to if I did. And that may very well come to be, depending how things continue to go in Canada. I was joking about China. Yeah, no worries. No worries, John. No worries, buddy. You can fit all of them in Texas. Okay, right on. Yeah, no doubt. I believe that's probably true. What does social evolution mean to you? Social evolution? Well, is this? I think this might be someone that was actually. We were having some correspondence back and forth on Twitter. It sounds like that may very well be the case. But in terms of social evolution, I talk about intellectual evolution. So people need to understand they're free. Just like when there was such thing as human ownership, right? It wasn't governments. That's the thing. Governments created slavery. Governments made slavery legal, right? So governments, the state, is actually what enforced and reinforced the pretense that was actually even the right or proper thing to do, or even ethical in any way, right? What changed that, right? It wasn't all these, getting the right politician in or having the right people spend the right money in the right place. What got people out of the mindset of allowing that to continue on is to educate and inform them and enlighten their intellect to the point where they recognize and realize that no, human ownership, owning another human being is immoral and unethical. And then once you've made that, and you can prove it to be so, because it's not hard to prove that you should never have any claim of ownership over another human being, then it's just, like I say, it's an intellectual evolution where you don't have to revolt. You don't have to like the slaves, you don't have to revolt against it. When the rest of society will join you because they understand that it's wrong to have slaves, then that's how you gain your prosperity, right? You're not trying to flee from the plantation, right? That's not how you get your genuine freedom. No, how you get your freedom is for the rest of the people in your society to acknowledge and own up to the fact that human ownership is wrong, and to say to that master, no, you let them people go. I demand that you let them go, because you have no right, you have no authority to own those other human beings. And if you don't let them go, we're going to be here to defend them and make sure that they go, whether you like it or not, or that they gain their freedom, whether you like it or not. So once again, it's all up here. Freedom, liberty, it's all up here. But people have to believe it, they have to understand it, and even more importantly, they have to be willing to defend their freedoms and their liberties for them to actually exist in the real world. So revolution, hey, like for people that want to do the revolution thing, I kind of get what you're saying. But what a revolution is, you're basically, and the very term revolution suggests that you're going to end up back at the same point in time at some point in time anyways, right? Which is what has happened throughout history. You've seen countless examples, whether you're talking about the Roman Empire, right? The Ottoman Empire, you can go back as far back as the Egyptian Empire, the British, all you keep getting, or the French, every time you have these revolutions, like there was a French Revolution, right? There was a French Revolution, and they gained their freedoms for a short time, or at least certain people in society did. Others didn't fare so well, because that's the thing. Not everybody, right? But the ones that did, well, you see a lot of protesting, a lot of angst, a lot of anxiety, a lot of pushback against government or authoritarianism in France today. So how much of the freedom did they truly attain? Yeah, the people in the past did, but they showed that they were willing to fight for them. Like I say, that freedom ceases to exist, and the authoritarians step in to fill that void when you have multiple or successive generations of people who are unwilling to stand up and defend those freedoms and those liberties. And once again, how do you get people to do that? They have to understand the concepts. They have to understand the importance of doing so. They have to understand what freedom actually entails. And more importantly, they have to understand the direct and absolute threat that the state represents, because the state is a monopoly of force or violence in any geographical area. So the state represents force. The state represents violence. So when you're talking about the state, like I say, don't pretend or suggest that it's something that you can turn into something benevolent. You can't, because the state represents violence. All you can really do at the end of the day, and what revolutionaries usually do, is no, they don't reject violence. They just want to take over the state, that representation of violence, and use that to impose themselves on people that don't agree with them. Whereas a libertarian, I don't want to impose my way of doing things on anyone. All I want are people to understand very simple rules of engagement, whether we're talking about economic or social. So if I'm out dealing with a person socially or economically, the only very simple rules of engagement that I want, and I think we should all adhere to, because it's a universality, that we can all do so without any discrepancies or any contradictions, is just don't use force, violence, or theft towards your fellow man, woman, or child, right? Get people up to thinking in that way critically, and using all the amazing tools at our disposal to allow each of us to live as ourselves, as free sovereign individuals and human beings. You do you, and I'll do me. That's what the intellectual development and enlightenment that I want to bring to the Western world, so that, yeah, we're not trying to fight each other on a constant and continuing ongoing basis to create a one-size-fits-all approach where you get to impose your revolutionary ideas or society on me, or other people get to impose the fascists, the people that you hate so bad, the white supremacists. I don't want them to be able to impose their will or their edicts on you either. That's the beautiful thing about the philosophy of liberty, is no, you're not supposed to be using force, violence, or theft. No, only, force and violence as a means to defend yourself. But that defense means against something that's an actual, eminent, and genuine threat to you. Not the pretense of a threat, but genuine threat to you. And the genuine threat to you is those in big government, not the rest of the people in society that you might disagree with, right? So once again, just to clarify things, Anna, but like I say, if you would like to, I'll gladly bring you on to the chat. If you're the one that was from Twitter, just mention that in the comment, and I'll send the link to join me in message form on Twitter. I'll check that down a little bit further. Forget the second one. Mind what is happening to your body when you're fearful, angry, or paranoid. Yeah, it's true. True. Okay, let me get down here and see if Anna. Okay, let me see Anna. He just said that people were free after the revolution, and the people in the past were the ones who are free, but there's no change now. That denotes the idea that there's no continuing results. What? Like I say, it's really difficult to try to have a conversation in text form, which is why I always offer people, like, we're all adults here, right? Do you want to talk to me or not? Can we just talk? Like, or are you camera shy? Maybe, I don't know. Yes, the state represents violence, hence why you guys supporting military and police is really fucking okay. I don't support the military or the police. Never have, never will. No, I'm not. Where do you get that? Where are you drawing these conclusions from? Like, stop talking past me. Stop trying to misrepresent me. Stop building a straw man and come talk to me. I suppose if you actually talk to me though, Anna, then you can't keep putting all these fake bullshit things, right? Because I can prove to you in real time, as you're on the stream, that no, I don't believe any of the stuff you keep accusing me of. So is that why you like to stay waiting in the wings? Because if you actually have to deal with me and talk to me face to face, I'll literally say to you, no, I don't support it. So I stand on principles. I don't yield or bow to any political ideology, which is why I get constantly attacked by the very people that you say I align with. The people that, like, in the military and the police constantly attack me. Watch my videos. Just go to my Canadian Libertarian YouTube channel, type in police or RCMP, anything like that, like I say, and then you'll see that probably a dozen videos that I've done dealing with the pushback against the drug war, against police brutality and corruption, and all the things that they do in society that's detrimental to people's freedoms and liberties. And you'll see I have a lot of comments under there by a lot of right-wingers, a lot of military people, a lot of police telling me that I'm an idiot. So I'm getting attacked. You're suggesting that I'm, part of the right-wing military and police. Meanwhile, the military and police people are constantly attacking me. So I'm like over here is like, okay, I got no tribe here and I'm being attacked by both sides. I don't know. At some point in time, one of you, either side, might start to come around and realize that, no, actually, I'm the one that's actually the only one is not playing this tribalism game, and I'm just trying to talk seriously with people about some very important issues that affect us all. And if you're unwilling to engage in an actual conversation and you just want to sit on the sidelines and keep poking and insulting and deriding me and misrepresenting me, it doesn't really come across that you are actually even genuinely curious as to know what what I stand for or what concerns me, right? Because I would ask a person. I wouldn't try to, it's so weird anyways. Why would you try to put words in my mouth? It's so much easier just to ask me, do you support the military and the police? And I would have told you. Who pays the military and the police? It's the state. I am anti-state. I'm a libertarian. So how could I possibly square that? No, I can't. I do not support enforcers, mindless enforcers, or order followers of the state. Now, are there some individuals who may have been in the military or the police? And I've known a couple of them, very few, very, very few, who have actually owned up, acknowledged that, no, they regret making the decision to be enforcers of the state, and they feel terrible for what they did, and they're looking to repent and hopefully do better going forward. Those kind of people, it's like, yeah, of course, forgiveness has to be something, right? For anybody, I would suggest, right? Well, I shouldn't say for anybody. There are some people that probably do things that are absolutely unforgivable. So once again, back to the individual, it would depend on each individual that I'd be talking with or discussing with. But yeah, there are some people who have been in the military or who have worked for the police who feel terrible about what they did, are trying to repent and make up for what they've done. And yeah, I'm not going to hold a grudge or a grievance against those people. I am, however, going to hold a grudge against those who keep trying to prop up this current and very corrupt system, or who are the mindless order followers who keep causing social and economic harm to countless Canadians or Americans or anyone else in the Western world by following these stupid, ridiculous orders or edicts by their political masters or rulers. So no, I am not a statist of any sort. I don't believe in rulers or masters at all. Right? If I had my way think of how things unfolded, it's like I would say nobody in Canada has any authority to force or impose themselves socially or economically on anyone else. That's the thing about the philosophy of liberty, is I acknowledge and I adhere to the principles of self-ownership, property rights. And property rights don't just mean if you go buy a piece of property. Property rights means my hands, my arms, my brain, my intellect, everything that I produce and provide that is a consequence or a function of me, I own that. And nobody gets to claim ownership over it, not all of it or not even a portion of it. That is mine. And if you want a portion of it, you can ask me voluntarily, or I may willingly choose to help you out in some way. Like I say, whether it's socially, physically, emotionally, or economically, but it has to be done voluntarily. That's the way it goes. That's the beauty. And of course, the last and most important, or one of the most important principles of libertarianism is the non-aggression principle. Don't use preemptive force, violence, theft, right, towards other people, towards your other man, woman, or child. Reserve that for defensive purposes and reasons only. So hopefully I helped expand upon so you better understand my position, because I see you constantly misrepresenting them, and that's not even a fair way to treat a person. I would just say, even if you don't want to do it for me, if you're going to engage in these kind of conversations with other people or go on social media, like if you're just going to constantly misrepresent them, you're not even benefiting your own cause. You're just going to have more and more people that'll turn against you. So I don't know, even if you want to be effective in any way, right? Try less straw man argument and try actually talking to people. I think that'll do much better. I've always found anyways, when I have conversation, it works out much better. Oh, okay. Okay, here. Gail, you need to check up your Bible knowledge, because wow, girl, you need a different book than everyone else. Read a book. That just wants attention. Okay, I'm trying to read here. I've actually replied multiple times here. I don't know why you're saying I ignored you. 12:59. It's literally only 1:01. So why are you saying I ignored you? What the hell is going on? Weird. Trying to call me. Call you? What the? I am here? Where? Call you? How am I supposed to call you? Wait a minute. Let me go to Twitter. I don't even know who this is. This is weird. This is freaking weird. No messages on Twitter. I don't know what you're talking about there, Anna. I really don't. Let me see if I can find something out here. No, I don't even see. I'm free today. I will literally call you right now if you answer my questions. I'm game if you're game. Oh, I see you did comment there on, but I don't know what you mean by calling me. Do I know you from the past and you have my phone number? Actually, no, you can't. Because, actually, I got my phone right here. So you're not calling me. So I don't know what to tell you. But if you want, like I say, I can send you a message. I am on Twitter now. So let me go to this. I will, just so she or he or whoever it is here. Venezuela, left versus right is a colonial construct. Wait a minute. Did I talk with you before? No. Doesn't seem like it. But anyways, I will, what I'm going to do is I will send it right now. Share or invite. I'm going to send an invite to your Twitter in message form. So if you do want to join me, by all means, come right on. So here we go. Oh, I guess I have to follow in order to message you. Okay, well, I guess I got to hit the old follow button then. All right, so now I am officially following you. Now can I message? Huh? Wait a minute. It's not giving me the option to message you. Let me reload here, see what's going on. Maybe you have it set up that nobody can message you. But there's nothing coming up where I can message you. Following, click on the 3 little dots. Nope, I can't. So I don't know how you expect me to be able to even send you the link. Maybe if you could answer down in the stream how I could send you the link, I definitely would do that. Okay. I'm trying to do it, Anna. I really am. Cool. Well, like I say, where can I send you? Where can I send you the link? Because I can't put it publicly. I can't just put it out there publicly because then everybody could just come on the stream, right, and crash the stream or whatever. So I just need somewhere to be able to share the link. It's a link, and you can use your smartphone. It's all it is a link that you click on it, and it brings you to my stream, and then it asks, you could put your name in, and you got to give obviously your access to your microphone and your camera so that you can be just like me. But like I say, I'm more than willing to bring you on there. Oh, I mean, call on me. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, like I say, so then, like I say, I want to come in and have it. I want you to come in and have a chat with me because that's really the proper way to do this. Like I say, but then you said that's fair, dude. Totally fair. Well, maybe I answered your question already, and if I did, like I understand that. But like I say, I'm always willing. Even people that have said some pretty nasty stuff about me. Yeah, I got pretty thick skin when it comes to that stuff, especially like those kind of insults. Like whatever, I don't care. It's water under the bridge. I'll forget about it by tomorrow. So I don't mind. Even people have said some crazy things and insulted me quite bad. I don't mind. Like I say, all I really would want to do at the end of the day is get to know people who are just as concerned about the society and how things are unfolding as I am, and help try to work out ways that's going to be beneficial for everyone. Like I say, something else might be more beneficial to you than some other thing might be. Like I say, as long as we're not using force and violence or stealing from each other, right? Or imposing ourselves on each other, I think we can figure that out. Actually, that's the only way to have a genuinely free and prosperous society and a healthy, happy society, is to stop this one-size-fits-all approach, because that's the problem with government. No matter who gets in power, they want to run rickshot over everyone else and impose their ideas on everyone else, which is what elicits that same kind of response from their political counterparts or opponents. Because then when they get in power, they want to do the exact same thing. And it's like all it is the government, the state. All it does represents everybody chooses to be in tribe A or tribe B, and it's just a constant war and battling rather than like how about you just leave each other the fuck alone? How about you do you and you do you, and stop fucking trying to force your shit on each other? Like, to me, that's a real simple thing, right? That's sometimes I feel like a libertarian is like, what are we, just like glorified referees, philosophical referees or something? Because really at the end of the day, that's what I find that I'm doing most of the time, is just trying to be a referee and talk to people from both sides of ideological extremes and say, listen, folks, we can figure this out. Trust me, you can do you and you can do you. And it can all happen seamlessly without having to threaten each other with force or violence of any way, or stealing from each other. It can be done. Trust me, it can be done. I've lived it. Right. But anyways, but thanks for coming into the stream. And like I say, if you think that I've covered it well enough, then I'm happy, like you say. Or if you would want to further discuss this, like I say, come on in. Or if you want to say it for another day, now I'm following you on there. Follow me back and send me a message anytime, and we'll engage in a genuine conversation or discussion. Because like I say, at the end of the day, that's really what I want to. That's really what I want to, because we got to figure this stuff out, folks. We got to be like the adults at the table, while there's a bunch of petulant or adolescent children that are basically just looking to throw sticks and stones at each other or impose their will on each other. Let's be leaders of example and step up to the plate and say, no, we're going to respect each other, and we're going to talk about these things like adults. What's the debate about? I'm not sure what we're talking here. I skipped way down there because I was trying to get to what Anna was saying. But yeah, there's lots of ways for people that interpret the Bible. That's why I don't really reference the Bible too many times. I'm a big fan of some of the great stories contained within the Bible. They had great moral and ethical underpinnings to them, but I'm not a dogmatist and I'm not a mysticist. I just kind of try to bring these mystical concepts more down to earth, more where like they're more universally adopted and accepted, like kind of like where we realize, because like I say, that if you make these concepts much more simple, the stories are great, they're definitely great, but I think people need to get back more along the lines of basics in terms of understanding things, because it's really, really not that difficult, right? To not use force or violence or theft. It's really not that difficult. And it's quite easy to figure out if someone is actually using theft or force or violence, right? Politicians, that's what they do. They themselves don't do it. They demand you to abide by their edicts, or they demand a portion of your income. But the threat of force is there, because if you don't abide by their edicts or allow them to take that portion of your income from your paycheck or your income, then that's when the threats of force continue to get escalated to the point where if you don't comply, ultimately you're either locked up in a cage or you die, or you'll suffer some other negative consequence. So once again, the state is a direct representation of force, which is why I like to take that off the table entirely and not use that as a means to an end. Because like I say, a healthy society is one that's not constantly threatening each other, right? I mean, could you imagine in your family if you were constantly, and there are families actually that they function based on just like the government, right? It's might makes right. And I've seen lots of families that's done that. I didn't do that with my kids, right? I tried to lead by example. I never used a corporal punishment, even with my sons. And I had 2 sons, right? And they went through their teenage years like every other teenager, but I never chose to resort to. So, I mean, there are ways, like I say, there are ways, and I'm not even saying that people don't make mistakes. All human beings. I myself have made mistakes in the past, right? And have used violence when it was not absolutely necessary, right? But we have to learn and adopt our mentality and our psychology and our philosophy, our moral underpinnings to better reflect doing better things in life. Because like I say, every time I've tried to do better, then it's not just beneficial to me, but it's beneficial to my family, my extended family, my community, and ultimately the rest of Canada. So the more steps we can all proactively take to better ourselves and do things more in a voluntary manner, and rather than using force, coercion, or theft, then like I say, that's literally how you create that amazing society, or that prosperous and happy society that you and I think the rest of us all really want at the end of the day. But thank you, like I say, thank you very much for coming on to this and into the chat, because that, once again, that shows that you are at least willing to engage in dialogue, and that puts you head and shoulders above a lot of other people that just get on there and insulted me, right? So thank you for coming in there, Anna. I also have not insulted. Okay, well, if you haven't, Anna, sorry, then I apologize, because like there were so many people. Well, that's the thing. I don't recognize the name Anna M. But there was just so many people that I've been replying to on there. I kind of thought you might have been someone else. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't, then once again, I apologize for suggesting that you did. And like I say, if you ever want to come on the stream, whether it's today or on another day, just reach out to me and I will definitely do that. That's not my jam. I'd rather have an intellectual convo that's been complete than be a complete ass and insult you. Okay, so right on, as they say in my country. Well, that's awesome. Like I say, really appreciate that, Anna. And that says a lot about your character, that, like I say, you're willing to come on here and even engage with me, and do so in an appropriate manner without, like I say, resorting to insults. So thank you very much, Anna. Really appreciate that. See, this is the kind of stuff I like to see, folks. It's kind of getting me right here. You know what I mean? No, but it really is. And this is why I like doing this stuff, is because, yeah, sure, me and Anna might have some disagreements, but once again, how are we ever going to figure out what we genuinely disagree with? What principles are we standing behind and why we support such things? And how can we find ways to not only iron out or figure out what our grievances or differences are, but find other ways where we have agreements that can bring us back together? Because that's the other thing. I'm sure me and Anna have things that we agree with as well. And maybe we should build and expand upon them rather than worrying about our differences. Because once again, the difference is, as long as you're not imposing your will on me, or me imposing on yours, we're allowed to have differences. And I'm glad we're different. Matter of fact, I love that genuine kind of diversity. I can't imagine living in a world or a society where we're all Borg-like. Like, how boring would that be? I love the fact that there's a multitude and millions of Canadians that are different and have not just different backgrounds, skin color, heritage, hair color, clothing styles, voice. I mean, just everything that it is that gives us human beings such individual and unique and distinct characteristics, right? That's the beautiful thing. I love it, folks. Even identical twins will definitely have differences among them, right? That's the beauty of being a unique sovereign individual, is we bring those unique qualities to the table, and we can bring them all together. And that's what that creates this beautiful, diverse fabric of society, that the actual genuine diversity that makes the West such great places in particular. Because if your premises and your ideas, or your premises and your principles are built on ideas rather than, you know, your skin color or what particular part of the geographical map, right, that you come from, then ideas are something that we can definitely all unify under. Whereas if it's based on immutable characteristics that we can't change, then, well, what the hell? Then everyone's going to feel like, or some people are always going to feel like an outcast, right? That's why I love about the ideas is we only have to adhere to ideas and principles that respect each other's sovereignty. That's a beautiful thing that we can all do, and we can all do it universally together. Okay, so who else do we got here in the chat here? Okay, let me see. Anna's saying something. Looks like the right will win because the rest of us can't use the internet. Oh, shoot. Anyway, Bennett, I messaged you on Twitter, and I'm so happy to have a chat with you. Awesome. Let me check that there now. Oh, perfect. Okay. I made my messaging private. Okay, I'm going to send that link to you then. Okay, one sec here. Invite. Copy. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, let's get this sent out. Here's the link to join me. Okay. There we go. Perfect. Beautiful. Awesome. So that's sent out. So hopefully Anna will be joining me here shortly. It wasn't even expected, but it's a pleasant surprise, like I say, because I love having these kinds of conversations and finding some areas of agreement. And like I say, even sorting out some of the areas where we might disagree with, as long as we're coming at the conversation, right, with good intentions, and let's have at it. Let's have at it. All right, folks. Ooh, a little warm in here. Must be going to be a very nice day. By the way, thanks for everyone that has joined into the stream. And while I'm waiting for Anna to pop in here, let me just see what's going on with everyone else. So I'm going to start from the bottom and kind of go backwards. I know it's weird, but I'm so far behind in the chats, and because I had to scroll down. Oh, this country. Yeah, I have it too, Anna. I'm in the sticks too. And yeah, I know what you mean. It's terrible. It's terrible. And fortunately, you know, hopefully they'll have Starlink. Hopefully Elon Musk will have Starlink up and running by the end of this year, and we'll have access to much higher speeds out in these rural areas. Because yeah, I'm with you, Anna. It sucks. It sucks big time. Okay. Oh, there we go. We got her. Anna. Anna.
Hello, how are you? Hold on, I have to pause you because then I'll have you on like 3 different locations, and then I'll just mess all of us right up.
Yeah, or you can just mute it even.
Oh, there we go. Okay, that's a good idea. Anyway, hello, how are you?
Good, excellent. I'm so happy that you actually came on to have a chat with me, because this is one of those things where I loved, and it's a precedent-setting thing, because everyone that I've ever had interactions with, it's really difficult, as you probably understand, to have these kinds of conversations online, because there's no nuance to it. You don't know what the other person's back, or you have no idea what their intentions are. So it's really easy to get apprehensive, and that's kind of the go-to thing on Twitter, right? But at least when we can talk, then like that, because I think that's really how human beings. I think that's why it's kind of new with the whole text, and I get it's a very convenient way in many ways. But I still believe that for us as human beings, we still got to kind of see each other. We kind of, even if we can't be in person, at least kind of see each other. And it helps us so that we can kind of let our guards down a little more and see that we're both human beings, right? And we're not just some bot or someone that's just trying to manipulate an algorithm, or, you know. So I'm glad, like I said, I'm really glad that you chose to come on here today. So is there anything that you wanted to say first and foremost about what we kind of talked about?
I just want to say, and definitely, well, thank you for having me. You didn't have to have, you know, other people with different opinions on your show. And I think that really says a lot about you to be able to, you know, be like, put your money where your mouth is. And I'm a huge believer in that, right? Like, if I'm going to say these things, I'll put my money. But one thing that I really do think we need to kind of like backtrack on, and the main reason that I was like, okay, let's call, because I want to put something out there. What we were talking about before, when you said like, well, it's not people that enslaved people. It was the government, and that they created the system specifically made to harm other people, right? Like, but we cannot forget, like Maya Angelou says, I am human and nothing human is alien to me. We cannot forget that people are also capable of these awful things, right? It was the people behind these government systems that created that. And also backing up too, like it was really funny when
Can I just, before you back up though, can I just kind of reference that? Because that's actually a really important point, because that's actually a great point of clarification, which I would even have done myself, you know, if I was given the opportunity. Because what I mean is, it's the pretense, it's the entity of government that gives people this legitimacy to do things that, if you weren't working for the state, like, you know, yourself as a normal human being, you can't go to your neighbor and say, I'm taking a portion of your income, whether it's, you know, 5%, 10%. You can't go to your neighbor and suggest that you have any authority to do so, because your neighbor would look at you like, what are you just crawling?
Yeah, get the fuck out of my house.
That's called theft. No, sorry, you can't take it with you. You have to ask my permission. But the state, the modern iteration of what we've always had, some kind of a rulers, whether it was monarchs, dictators, pharaohs. I mean, but the modern thing called the state is just the newest iteration where, you know, it used to be before that God bestowed these authorities.
I know how that works. Like, I know how that works. Like I said, I do have a degree in political science.
Right. Okay. Cool.
But like, and what you did say, you also, when you were talking about revolutions on how like they don't particularly work. Well, I will give you 70% pass on that one, because you're right. In one way, it really just, all that happened was that we took off the top tier system, which is chosen by God, monarchy. And then there was the people in the middle that were like, wait, fuck you. Oh, sorry, I don't know if I can swear in your.
Oh, no, that's all. It's all good. It's all good. Don't worry.
You know, being like, okay, well, why are you the one in charge? Because God said so, but I have more money. I have more real, like, hard power than you do with your soft power, right? So what happened is the top tier got pushed off. Then that class moved up and they became in charge. And then they have not been kicked out of power yet.
Exactly. No, you're right.
But it's not about going back to, it's not, we're going back to zero, because then we are denying the fact that history is a continuous cycle, right? And we're very new. We, as historically, as our democracy is extremely new. It's democracy is a failed system.
Oh yeah, we're still in our very adolescent stage. Yes.
Super. And that's why I take issue with your evolution, not revolution, because we have to tear this whole thing down. We have to tear the whole thing down, because there is no ability to evolve, you know, and as people, you know, because we need to, as people, recognize, okay, what did the establishment do for us? Yeah. Not a whole lot, unless you're super rich.
Right.
So what we need to do is create a society that is community-based, by people, for the people, and actually be for the people. Not have these governments that are basically owned by mass corporations. The lobbyists decide exactly who's going to be in charge and exactly which laws get passed. That way the little guy gets screwed, pays higher taxes, and then what?
Yeah, no, I get. Like, can I respond to that real quick though? Because actually, you're bang on, and I'm loving this conversation already. Like, this to me, like, some people, like, well, I'm typically into high performance machines most of my life, but this stuff actually almost gets me as excited as that, because I love a good intellectual conversation, because it's, I don't know, it just does something for me, and I love hearing you talk that way, because I'm agreeing 100% with you. Here's the big thing though. What I'm thinking, and it's like I've thought about this for 10 years straight. I've put in, I don't know how many tens, or at least in excess of 10,000 hours in the last 10 years, for sure. Way more than I would even suggest. Probably too much, because that's the thing. When I do something, I overdo stuff. That's just kind of me, right? But what I've come to realize, because I've heard all these arguments, I've read all the not all of it, but I've read a lot of historical literature. I listened to the philosophers and the psychologists and a lot of the geniuses and the figures of the Enlightenment era. I've listened to, you know, the dark. I've been paying attention astutely to this, but here's what it is. Revolution, and even if you think of the phrase, the terminology revolution, it literally does suggest that you end up, but you're right, it's not like you end up exactly in the same place. There are definitely benefits, and revolutions have definitely at least given us that gradual creep. So it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? So at least we're gaining ground. 100%, I agree with you. We've gained ground over the course of, you know, generations, centuries, and millennial, even, especially in particularly the West. But what I'm saying today is, because of the age of information. Now, prior to the Gutenberg press, it would have been really difficult to get just the average person, the average serf, the average citizen, or anyone to actually understand some of the Enlightenment era values or scientific knowledge. But we live in this, what I have coined the phrase Enlightenment Era 2.0, because in the age of information, in the internet age, we don't like, I agree with you as far, but what I'm saying is rather than try to worry about tearing down the old system, because here's the thing, you and I agree that this current system, the way it's structured, is terrible. It's detrimental to you. It's detrimental to
everybody.
me.
It's destroying us. But we believe.
But it's not everybody, because we recognize there are actually a lot of people that are benefiting big time from this system.
Straight white men. That's true, right? It's that impossible racial hierarchy that was created through the system, and if we don't recognize that the system was also created as a racial hierarchy and completely tear that down, we will never move forward as people. Evolution, like you said, mental evolution.
Right.
That won't happen.
Let me just finish my thought, and then I'll give you, like, trust me, I'll give you all kinds of time to respond. But basically what I was saying is, so rather than tear down old, because I recognize there's going to be a lot of vested interest. People that, like I say, have been gaming and benefit from the system. It's in their best interest, and they're going to fight to the nail to maintain it. So what I'm saying is, rather than try to tear it down, I love the ideas and just people, like, if you take, I use Elon Musk as an example, is it wasn't that you had to tear down the fact that, you force people to pay taxation for NASA to squander all this money to do things that maybe some people don't care about, right? But what it is you offer up, you create a whole new structure or a whole new way of doing things among people like yourself that are willing to do things the way you want to do it. And then the old system just collapses under its own weight because there's no longer anyone there to sustain it, or the people that are sustaining it. If the people that are sustaining it can only do so by trying to economically or socially enslave the rest of us, well, if we just don't participate with them and they can't socially or economically enslave us, well, they can try all they might, but as long as we intellectually understand that we don't have to be beholden to ourselves. But there's millions of Canadians that are alive today that, even though they understand how inherently immoral the system is, they will conform to it because they realize they have to. So we just have to offer them alternative options where they don't have to. And then the old system, rather than try to tear it down and get into those, because if you try to tear it down, every revolution is going to be bloody. It's going to be devastating, and it's going to be a lot of people going to be harmed. Even good people like yourself and I could eventually. But like I say, if you offer up a whole new way of doing things, then and still ignore and avoid and doing whatever you can to disrupt the current system, then, like I say, there is no need to go through these, because especially in particular, guy with 2 sons, I worry about these revolutions because I realize that it's usually those people that are the ones that are stuck out there defending whether they want to or not, because they realize, well, if I don't stand up and defend myself, my freedom, my family, I have no choice. They're going to take over. They're going to destroy my life, my career, or whatever. So I
will give you that. I will give you that participating in, right, like, the system is it's an idea, right? Like, there's nothing really, well, actually there is. The concrete part of our system is the police and the military. Hence why we need to defund, abolish the police, because the police is literally there just to keep white rich people in power. It's to protect property, not people.
Not just white
but
people.
It is, though, right? Because that's the beginning of the police system in North America. It was specifically created. I mean, you told me I could finish. Let me finish.
Okay, yeah.
But that's actually true, though.
Okay.
It's very true that the police system in North America was founded specifically to protect land ownership from slaves. Right? Like that. Yeah. But that is how it's like that's a fact. That's how the police system was founded. The RCMP in Canada was founded specifically to kick Indigenous people off their land, take them to residential school, and commit genocide.
I've suffered at the hands of the RCMP as well. So
right, like, there is a system with the RCMP exists. We can't choose not to participate, because choosing not to participate is a privilege, right? I can't choose not to participate in the system. I don't have the money to not choose to participate. Just how you said earlier. Yeah. When you said earlier, like, well, I need money. Like, I don't want to have to deal with banking and this and be part of this, but like to get somewhere, I kind of have to, right? Well, It's the same thing. But now picture, right? You're a person of color. And it really does, like, the only way we have a social evolution and mental evolution is also to right? They always say, like, the first step of beating addiction is recognizing you have a problem, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's exactly it. We're still kind of in step 1. We need to recognize we have a problem. The problem is there's too much police force. There's too much military force. There's too much free government where they can choose to what they do exactly with our taxes. There's not enough systems in place to decide to actually help the people.
Yes.
And that's where one of the things about universal basic income does. It isn't about the government just being like, fuck you, sit on your ass. I'm just now going to spoon feed you.
Okay, but before we go to the UBI, and I definitely want to cover that, but let's just deal with what you're saying. And I will agree that in mostly white nations, because 100% I'll admit that like Canada, the US was predominantly founded by white people because they came from Europe. A lot of the white people that actually found these countries were people, well, in the US, they didn't care much for King George, right? So they wanted to set up.
You're more or less on that one, because there was 3 different types of settlers that came to North America, right? You had the ones that came to Canada who were escaping the king because the king was actually an asshole and wanted to go ahead and kill anybody who wasn't a strong Catholic or strong Protestant. 2, you had the ones who went to the north who did more or less the same, but those were actually more religious extremists. Specifically the sorry, I'm getting excited because I really love these topics.
It's all good.
You get like the Quakers, and them, they ended up taking up the further north, hence why you have a lot of strong right-wing policies in a lot of Midwestern states. That comes from exactly how they were colonized and funded. And the third part, which is the most important actually aspect of colonials that came to the US, is from rich white settlers who were mostly like second sons in the UK, so that they weren't able to become landowners there, had to come here to become landowners and made their millions and billions, like literally billions. I mean, look at the Rothschilds. They are the ones that funded and continued to fund the systems that have created what we have today. So we can't ignore that.
We're a little far off from where I was going. Like I say, if I finish the thought, you'll see that it has nothing to do with. I'm not trying to like. We don't even have to get into like history. I'm talking about whichever country you're talking about, because you could say the exact same thing. You go to India, you go to Pakistan, you go to China, you go to Russia, you go to, or actually, I guess you could call that white too. But every country around the planet has a state and they have order followers. So the fact that in Western countries such as Canada, US, the bulk or the majority of the order followers were to protect people that they associated or aligned with because they shared the same skin color or heritage or background. I'm with you there. But once again, it's not like the West has like this monopoly on enforcers of the state. All 200 states plus or whatever in the world have their order followers, and they all do the exact same thing, is they protect whoever the protected or the ruling class in their particular country is. So it's
I'm Venezuelan. I'm Venezuelan indigenous, so I get you.
What's that? Sorry, go ahead.
I cut you off. I just get so excited about these things.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good.
I'm Venezuelan indigenous, so talking about like state power and too much control of like and destroying people like through that, you're preaching to the choir over here, dude. Like I am with you on that. Yeah. We just differ strongly, I think, on what to do, like the next steps, and what we envision community and society to be, right?
Well, I don't actually think we do disagree, because I think I'm pretty sure. No, but I'm pretty sure that whatever you would want to do to create a more free, prosperous society for you and the people you care about, I'm pretty sure
I care about all of us. I care about you, Bennett. You know, I actually care about you and your children and your family.
I totally get that. But you're still going to want to do, like, you're not going to, like, I have certain ways I want to live my life. And I don't suggest that you're going to live your life, because I could tell you how I want you to live, but I don't expect you to ever do it, because you're a sovereign individual. So what I'm saying is, as long as all we really need to do is take force, theft, and violence off the table, right? Just take what the state represents. And this is the thing. This is the beautiful thing about having these ideas and having our sovereignty and our freedom, is you can do you and I can do me. Like I've always said before, the beautiful thing about a libertarian and the philosophy of liberty is, I'll even, like, for a socialist and a communist, if you folks want to set up a little socialist endeavor or a commune.
I'm not a socialist or a communist. I came from Venezuela.
No, but I'm not suggesting you are. Or I'm just saying, but I've said this to people who are socialists or communists. Like, if you want to live in that way, then by all, it's not up to me to tell you how to live. If you want to live in a more of a socialist type of setting, then you should be allowed the freedom and the sovereignty and the right to do whatever you want, to live how you see fit. As long as you're not forcing it on someone else, stealing from your neighbor, then you do you. Right. So that's, to me, so that's why we don't even have to agree fundamentally on how you should live or I should live. All we have to agree with are those rules of engagement. So if we were ever to interact or engage out in public, socially or economically. All I require of you is just when we're talking face to face, or we're going to the store, or you're the owner of the store and let's just make our interactions voluntary, right? And if we don't want to interact, then you don't even have to interact with me. If you choose to ignore me or pretend I don't even,
but that's not true though, right? Because like you could be spreading, like that's the thing. I get the like don't I get so many. Let's use this example. Okay, I'm a woman of color, obviously, and I've been a competitive wrestler for 12 years. I've been varsity wrestling my whole life, so I can defend myself really well. But I have had people constantly grabbing my hair, pulling me, doing things because they think that my personal being doesn't matter to them, right? So, and I'm like, don't touch me, don't look at me, do not pull on my hair. Like, I'm not for you to do anything. And that doesn't harm anybody, right? Like, I go fine about my day, they go fine about their day, no biggie, right? Yeah. But the thing about masks, right, is that if you are a carrier, because you can be a carrier without knowing, then you accidentally bump into someone, we know now it's aerosolized. So if you're someone who is a carrier, you walk into the supermarket, right? Let's say you're in the, deodorant aisle. I don't know why I came up with that. But let's say we're in the deodorant aisle at Shoppers, right? You're there unmasked, not you, but one is there unmasked, is a carrier. They sneeze, it's ragweed season, okay? They sneeze, and then I walk over and I have a mask on, right? But maybe I'm a dumbass and I touch something, get to my car, then without hand sanitizing, I touch my face, right? And then I get the virus. Now your personal liberties just totally fucked mine because now I'm in the hospital wasting tax money, tax, right? That's the thing is, you don't think about community, you think about the self. And there's no way will we advance if we don't think about the community.
But see, the pretense, that's the thing, which is why, and it's the people in the position of authority and the thought leaders that are kind of manipulating. And you're a smart girl, so or woman, I should say.
I'm a woman.
I'm sure you'll understand this when I say this. That's to suggest a positive right is to suggest that you have some inherent right to dictate how I live my life. That's an impossible scenario because we can't do that universally. I can practice restraint from doing anything or impose myself on you. We can all do that universally, which is why it makes a moral principle, or it makes an ethical principle that can be universalized. But when you say, like, that scenario you set up, what I would suggest, first of all, if you are truly concerned with contacting a virus, like just like if I was telling my sons or my wife or my grandmother, is like, you need to protect yourself. Do not rely. Same with when they go out on the roadway, when they're driving a car. I do not say, oh, well, everyone else has to abide all these rules and never cause any harm to you. Because if I rely on everyone else to do that, then, well, I don't expect.
Yeah, like when my dad taught me to drive, right? It's the other idiots on the road you have to be worried about.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing. You have to be the one that's proactive to defend yourself. Because if you're relying on other people to do it for you, then I personally, I would never place the responsibility of taking care of myself in someone else's hands. That's the only person who's going to be competent, have the ability to do that for me is me. That's so what it is if I put it this way, if I had a health condition that made me very susceptible, that if I contact, whether it was COVID or even a flu or pneumonia, and I had underlying conditions that said, damn, you're not going to do well if you contact this virus, then I would personally make sure that I stayed out of the public eye. I would do more.
What if you can't, right? What if, because the government systems, right, the big government or the big corporations have made it so you can't have money. You need to go to work, right? Let's say you're a worker, you're immunocompromised.
Yeah, but there's people that work right now that they don't even have to leave their home. That's the beauty of this modern world that we live in. There's
but not for low-income people, Bennett. It's low-income people that are being hurt the most. You and me will most likely be fine.
You have that choice, right? You care about those low-income. So, perfect example. Everyone that I know that works in the construction industry here in New Brunswick, if you go in any of these sites, nobody's wearing a mask. Nobody's telling them to.
Oh.
And if someone said that they had to, none of them would do it. So
that's awful. They're going to die. Don't they care about themselves? Like, don't they care about their moms and their dads mourning their death?
My wife's the same way. She works in the grocery store and she will not wear a mask. And
what? In the grocery store?
Yep. 100%.
What if some other person is unmasked and carrying the virus? And then she gets it.
She's a woman of good health that doesn't have any underlying conditions and is not.
Bennett, are you worried about your wife? Like, they're showing, like, active university studies have shown the increase of stroke, increase of heart disease, increase of brain death from blood clots and lung clots.
Out yet for these studies to have anything remotely resembling like
but they do, right? Because they had they said this is the second type of SARS virus, right? And we had the first virus came out in 2008. In the last 12 years, universities have been actively studying this. Dude, care about your, I mean, obviously you care about your wife. I mean, your first bio is, I love my
years been together since we were teenagers, and we have
my husband and I too. My husband and I have been together since I was 17.
Right. And we've got a 25 and a 29-year-old. And
beautiful, Bennett. Beautiful.
So like, because that's the thing. Like, come on, are you really going to suggest that you care more about my wife than I do?
No, Bennett. Please, of course not. I would not suggest that.
So here's what we're doing right now, and this is actually a perfect example. I like this, Anna, because I'll tell you. So here's the thing. Here's something that we fundamentally disagree on, right? And which is why if we were out in public, I would say, if I see Anna, I'm not going to go anywhere near Anna if she's concerned, right? If you were one of those people, or I would suggest that if we were out in public and you were that concerned of contacting the virus, I might even suggest that maybe it might be a better idea, depending on how important it is you to be there, to maybe get someone else to do that or order or do whatever. Because I would say you should be doing whatever you can to protect yourself if you're that concerned. I've paid attention to numbers. My wife's paid attention to numbers. 85% of people in Canada that have died from COVID have all been in long-term care facilities. 90+% of them were all over, 95+% were all over the age of 60. And the rest of them, except for very, very few tiny exceptions, which puts you real close to like your seasonal flu or cold, the rest of them have all had comorbidities or other contributing factors. So if you don't have any of those things, so far, based on the 6 months of evidence, and we've seen the numbers have dwindled, right? And the numbers that
but they've dwindled because people have social distance and wear masks, right? Like that's how those numbers have dwindled.
Every country, it's dwindled in even countries that haven't practiced social distancing.
Like which ones? I just want to know. Like now I'm curious.
Yeah, like Sweden is a perfect example where their numbers has gone way down. And
but they also had the second highest rates of deaths, right?
Yeah.
In young people, and it's through their because they did a different thing, right? They went herd immunity, and that's why they have such a high rate of deaths compared to other European countries.
That's what we're all going to have eventually, anyways. Is herd immunity.
No, because it's preventable. I want you to be safe. I want you to Bennett, I want you to live your best life and be safe and healthy.
I've never met a human being yet that has ever said they never caught the common cold or the flu.
This isn't the common cold, though.
No, but
it has a higher death rate. It's
transmitted the same way, though, right? It's through your like spit, through.
Yeah, but you could really die. A lot of people can really die from it.
I'm just saying, though, that it's going to happen eventually, because there's like SARS never went away. MERS never totally went away. The 1918 Spanish flu, it just keeps adopting and evolving over the century. And this has been brought up in all these scientific journals that a lot of people that are like pro-mask and it's all out there in the information that they don't ever go away. What it is you have to build up herd immunity at some point in time. What it is Sweden did it in a faster way. So what I keep telling people is if you just look at Sweden as a snapshot of one day, then yeah, it looks like they were much worse off. But if you step back and then you take the proportion of how long it's going to be before all of our countries eventually, because that's the thing, like we can't all be wearing masks and locking ourselves up for all of indefinitely, for all of eternity.
Well, until a vaccine comes out, right?
What's that, sorry?
Or until a vaccine comes out.
Well, see, what is a vaccine? But the vaccine is just giving you that virus. But
I mean, yes and no, but they're giving it to you in a way that you don't die. Because
it's under controlled conditions, right? So like,
but we're not getting it under controlled conditions. Bennett,
honestly, what about the 90? Let's just go with ones that were in long term. So 85. So even if we don't get into the other ones, what about the 85?
You're stressing me out because I want you to be healthy. If I read in the newspaper in the next 2 months that said Bennett has got COVID, I will come back to this and be like, come on, man, I told you. I'll be so
listen, if I get COVID, I will accept that I chose to take that responsibility and deal with the circumstance. That is the thing. I'm willing to take all
the nurses that now will have to deal with you and the ICU beds that you'll take up.
But Anna, the kind of thing that makes me this way is the same kind of guy or the same underlying structure in my brain that makes me the guy that if you need someone to climb 1,000-foot antenna to change a light bulb, that's me. right? So this is the problem. You can't get society to all be like so fearful of these things. And some of us, like some people die by making incorrect decisions or not making the proper calculations. I think I've done a well enough job. I think I'm healthy enough. I think I've got my biology, my natural immune system.
Well, you're in New Brunswick, right? Because you're in the
Right.
what they call it, the Atlantic bubble.
Right. I might make a completely different decision if I was in a different circumstance, in a different place, a different environment. But once again, that's the beauty of sovereignty and freedom is I won't impose myself on you. So you, like we're out in public, you need to protect yourself from not just me, but from someone else. Whereas me, I'll just go out in the public and I'm not worried. Like I was actually.
Aren't you worried that you're a silent carrier for like other people, or like your wife, for example? Like, don't you worry that like, okay, let's say you go out, you do your thing, and then you come back, and then you give your wife the virus because you unbeknowingly became a
girl. There's probably more chance of her giving it to me, I would suggest.
I mean, stay safe, Bennett. Wash your hands and don't touch your face. That's all I got. That's all I have to tell you now.
Like I say, thank you for your concern. But like I say, once again, we got to get back to kind of where we're.
Yeah. Sorry. Let's go back.
Underlying principle. So the principle to me is I respect you to make your choice. And if you want to wear a mask, if you want to social distance, if you want to do all, I respect your right and your sovereignty to do so. And I should not, obviously try to impose how I want to do things on you. So you do you and I do me. Like I say, but we have to get to the point where if there's going to be principles that guide our decisions in life, it can't be that just some people, because for you might make the excuse today that, yeah, I don't believe in using force, but for this example, I'm going to allow government to mandate or force or impose their will on you, because for me, I'm scared of whatever, and I get it. And listen, but
I have a bigger chance of being shot and murdered by the police than you, so I'm gonna definitely keep my brown ass in line, right? You can't forget your privilege here, Bennett, because you keep saying like I have
no privilege. I come from
you have privilege from being a white man. That's just a fact.
Have you ever lived in rural New Brunswick?
Honey, I'm from Venezuela. So let's not like the privilege war on that. You're never gonna win.
I'm just asking you because if you've actually been to where I live,
I have been to rural New Brunswick. Actually, I'm literally right now planning my trip to Death Bay.
The poorest communities you'll ever see in Canada. Like I'm not kidding.
That's fair, but really, again, privilege-wise,
what's that?
You're not. I'm sorry. I've been to rural New Brunswick. Have you been to rural Venezuela?
So I've been poor my whole life, oppressed by the state, by the enforcers of the state. The government has treated me like garbage. They've plundered my income. They've tried to control and basically dictate every aspect of my social and economic life. But I'm supposed to.
That happens double to brown people.
Then take my entitlements away, please, because I sure as hell don't want them. If that's
but it happens double to people of color.
No, that's no. It's easy. It's
true. It's a fact. And anyway, okay.
So does that mean in China the Chinese people are entitled?
It's different because they weren't colonized the way we were. So that's a random strawman argument.
No, but if you're a white person that lives in China, are there discrepancies or difference in how you'll be treated by the Chinese Communist government if you share that's common ancestry or heritage? I would suggest
obviously you would be, but we are in Canada and we're here in Canada now, and you as a white Canadian man have more privilege than any other group. I'm not saying your life hasn't let me finish. I'm not saying your life hasn't been difficult. The government hasn't fucked you, because the government fucks all of us. I'm not saying that you haven't had really, really big difficulties in your life that you had to overcome. But I am saying that race wasn't a factor for you. And race is a factor for every other person who isn't white. And that's why there's that balance of privilege.
Whether race is attributing, to me,
it is attributing though. It's a fact. Let's not say whether or not. It's a fact.
Whether it is or not is let's say someone robs me, steals my wallet. If they stole my wallet because they want money for themselves, or they stole my wallet because they don't like seeing a white man with money, or if they stole my wallet.
Why are brown people stealing your wallet?
Because I'm saying what the reason is why someone treats me badly or oppresses me in any way. That is so minimal. It's the fact of what they did to me. Isn't what the reason is behind it. That's kind of moot, right? If someone shoots me in the back of the head and kills me, it's like, I'm not going to be worried too much. Well, geez, did they do it because I was white, or did they do it because?
But nobody's shooting you or attacking you for being white. All we're saying is you just have to recognize.
I've been attacked.
Recognize your privilege.
but I actually do constantly get attacked. Actually, in the last 10 years, I get attacked for being white. I get attacked for standing up for liberty by people on the right. I get attacked for standing up for liberty by people on the left. That's actually the reason why I know that's actually the gauge. That's how I measure that I'm in the right place, is because I'm being attacked by everybody. So
well,
right.
I'm not attacking you. I'm just asking you to know your privilege,
no,
right?
I don't.
And you also say things like, you know,
I have a privilege. Sorry, that's not.
Well, you have a lot of privilege from being a white man. You have the ability to go ahead and be like, well, I don't want to follow these systems.
There are some white men that would love for me to say that, because they, as much as they love to economically enslave me and make me feel like I'm a nobody, I'm not going to give them that.
Enslaved, Bennett.
You might want to give those white men that kind of power, but I am not giving anyone.
I don't give men power, honey.
Where they get to label their guilt on me. No, they don't get to place their guilt at my feet, because I've gotten on. You know why? I've got friends from every background. When my parents moved up,
are you pulling the I have black friends card now, Bennett? Come on, you know better. I know you know better.
No, I never said that. I said I've never had any issue with anyone based on their skin, because that's not how I was raised. I deal with people as individuals.
I'm not saying you are a racist. Wait, hold on. I am not calling you a racist. I am not calling you a racist.
Right.
I'm not saying you are in any way at all.
No, I know. I never said.
What I am saying is you need to remember that even though you are pushing these ideas of, well, just don't participate in the system, well, you have the privilege to just not participate in the system. The rest of us really don't.
How do I have the privilege that you don't? What privilege do I have that you don't? Then let's compare. What can allow me to step outside the system that is based on income?
This is awesome. One, you can actually get a job without having to lie about your name. I can't use my real name.
The government destroyed my career. Did you know that? Like they literally destroyed.
Yes.
So
welcome to COVID 2020. Everybody's career got destroyed, bud.
No, I mean by mandatory minimum sentences. This happened 10 years ago. The last 10 years of my life, this is the thing. I've actually had to go back. I used to be a long haul truck driver, making a decent amount of money, and one of the few occupations that you can have in a rural place like in New Brunswick, because very few jobs are even available here unless you want to work for the state, which I would never do in my life. So, but because they charged me with impaired driving while I had a few beer on my ATV, they destroyed my career, because mandatory minimum sentencing treats everybody equal. So they treat me like I'm the guy that killed some dude's family or something. So it's like this equality, this punishing people under this pretense of equality or equity is been a detriment to me. And the reason why I can't actively work now, and why I'm trying to constantly reinvent myself and find other ways to supplement my income. Right now, my wife actually is the one that's doing most of the work. Now, luckily, she doesn't have to do a whole lot, because the whole time, 10-year period, we got rid of all credit card debt. We no longer have a mortgage. We both drive cars. Mine's a 2004, hers a 2013. We both drive cars that have no payments. So what we've done is we just make it to the point where, well, things are bad, but at least if we don't have to be, how I protect myself from not having to be a slave to the working class is making sure that we're becoming more self-sustaining. And actually, that's the other thing with my wife. We're actually down to the point where she only has to put in. Now, we don't live very, very well. We just barely scrape by, but she can just work, 30, 32 hours a week. And because we have no outstanding debt, we just basically have to make sure we got food in the belly, gas in the car. So we're exiting the system by no help, not without no CERB, no government check, no EI, no that. We're doing it by just becoming more responsible and more autonomous, so that nobody has the ability. Because that's the thing. What I keep trying to tell, especially
young people, to get to that's privilege, right? You got there because okay. So how did you get so you came from New Brunswick, right?
Yep.
Your grandparents. Or parents. So let's start parents from New Brunswick?
Yeah.
Before that?
New Brunswick.
Can I just say pre-assume down the line, right? Yeah. Okay. So through that, and I am not saying like, I'm not calling you like Trump Jr., who's like, oh, you've been here and you have billions of billions. No. Right? Like
I've never inherited a dime. Will that help before you? Can I preempt by saying I've never inherited a dime from either grandparents or great? I've never gained or earned or gained anything. Like, I know some people have parents that have left the money, or grandparents. I've never gained or earned any dime, because I come from people that are poor. They basically had enough to pay for their funeral, right? And so I've never.
But most people are like that, and that's exactly it. You're right. You're completely right, and that's why I wanted to add the caveat of, not being a Trump, like not saying like, oh, like the Trumps or anybody who's had a lot of wealth transferred over, right? Also, that transfer of wealth, which we need to stop, is another part of government agencies. But we'll put that to the side.
Right.
Let's talk about this. Okay. So, but you've had your whole family there. You are used to New Brunswick life, culture.
Well,
you
I've lived in Ontario half of my life, though.
Okay, but you're still used to the same, like, well, actually, New Brunswick and Ontario are very different culturally. But you can integrate.
That's actually one of the things that gives me amazing advantage when I talk to people, is because I have half of my life where, like, well, just to give you a quick rundown, when I was 11, my parents, because there were so crappy jobs back here, moved me to Ontario when I was 11. We lived there until what was it, 97? When me and my wife we had our kids. Then we moved back here and bought a house. Once I lost my career and livelihood, and we lived in the sticks, there was no way to take a bus or anything to work. So we went back to Ontario. So I've literally, if you measured out in terms of my almost 50 years, it's almost like half of living in a big, huge urban center and a very, very poor rural. So I've seen
the gambit. You have run the gambit then, eh? No, one of the reasons I did decide to have this conversation with you and to come online and talk to you is because,
which I appreciate, which I really do.
You're a talkable dude. You know, I can. So anyway, continuing the story, right?
Yep.
So you're comfortable in the Canadian world. Let's just call it the Canadian world.
Okay. I would prefer a lot of things to change. That's why I do what I do. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Well, no, not that way. Not like, I'm not mean like you're comfortable in the system. Fuck the system. Like, fuck the system, right?
Yeah.
We agree on that one. No, but I mean, you socially, economically, we're probably on the same. Notice my basement apartment. You know, like, you didn't gain from that, but you did gain socially from being a Canadian-born person. But you did, though, and listen to why that's a thing.
My actuals, that's the thing. So you're suggesting based on the fact of my skin color but I'm telling you, based on my real lived experiences, is actually the fact that I had those two very polar opposites. You can't imagine actually what it was like for a young man, or young kid, I should say, 11 years old, going from a place, New Brunswick. When I was raised, there's an accent here. Plus, I used to say this stupid thing, "use guys," and it was just stupid.
Yeah, but that's completely different than not being able to speak in English with coming here with an actual heavy.
The same way.
That's a completely different thing.
But what I'm saying, though, when I moved there, it wasn't just the way I spoke. It was the fact that I was not part of the big city. I didn't talk like them. I didn't look like them. I didn't dress like them. So I was constantly.
And it sucked for you, right? Like, it was really hard for you, right? Like, it was. Right. And people were assholes to you because of those aspects about you, right?
Right. So
it made it more difficult for you to find jobs because you weren't from there. It made it more difficult because you didn't have any connections. More difficult because you had a different accent. More difficult because, you know, and a lot of it is like, oh, if you live in the same area and you grew up in the same town, you know, you always know somebody, you know, your parents know whatever, and you can get like the job at McDonald's or whatever. And you didn't have that because you moved to a totally different place and had to completely uplift yourself. And lost all your money too, all of your possessions, lost your beautiful, you know, I get that. And that is what it's like for immigrants, but 10 times worse, because we also have to deal with, on top of all of that, not really knowing the language, not having. But it's true, right? Because you see unemployment rates between white and immigrants.
No, but when you say that as a blanket statement, what comes off my head automatically is actually because I hung around with a lot of people from many different backgrounds, because where I lived in Scarborough, the east end of Toronto, where I grew up, it was the two big tall buildings, 10-story buildings, were people from mostly like Pakistan and India. And then in the two buildings that we lived in were a lot of people that were Torontonians and a few people from the East Coast. And then right beside that was a complex of townhouses, which were mostly Jamaican and Black people. So we all were kind of intermingled. We all kind of were considered in the same little ghetto, right? And sure, there was a little bit more of like, you know, maybe the people that were more of Pakistani and Indian descent kind of hung around more with themselves. But there was overlap. Some of us kind of befriended each other, depending on, it was a lot about personality, what it came down with. But I did notice even then that actually some people that were in like the 217, 205, the other buildings actually come from families that had quite a lot of money. And they were the ones in the community that actually, even though they were immigrants, They had the nicer bicycles. They had and I was not envious. I was always like, oh, I would like to have that, but it was not like I don't want to take from them. So actually, that's the thing. That's why I like to talk to people as individuals and stop using this collective terms of white or brown, because there's going to be.
But it's important though. We need to call things what they are.
But when you do, like, I get that, but then you should always offer that caveat up just to reach out, just for people like me. I'm just giving you advice because I think you're a great person. From based on what you're saying now, you seem like a reasonable person, and you just want to, help that, create a more freer, prosperous society. And I get that. But what it is when you say it, and when you're using the term like white people, you're causing, and even me, I'm willing to do it with you because I put that stuff aside immediately. But if someone's not nearly as easygoing as I am most of the time, when even people are hurling that,
that's called white fragility, and that's their problem. I'm going to keep calling truth. You do the same thing, right? You call truth, and no one says, "Oh, Bennett, you can't keep saying the truth because it hurts my feelings, and that makes me angry." So Bennett, stop hurting people's feelings by telling the truth. You see, that's the equivalent here.
But if you said as a generalized statement that a lot of white people in a white, mostly dominated white society, if a lot of people gain more benefits than people of different races, then that would be right. And I actually think
that's true, though.
I think you would get more and more white people like myself that would be willing to join you and support your cause. But if you use the white, like just white people, that's actually a way to put up a barrier. And I'm actually concerned because that's going to prevent your cause. And now, if your cause and my cause are all about giving freedom to everyone, now we're both having barriers put up against, because now it's like, I would like to help you in your cause if you can help me with my cause, and we can kind of.
You can't help me in my cause unless you recognize what are some of the root problems, and some of the very deep root problems. I mean, someone in your chat, I have it kind of in the corner of my hair.
I don't even like to bring this stuff up, but I'm going to, just because I understand how.
Well, can I finish my point really quickly? I promise you, I'll be quick.
No, go ahead.
Zip it in. Someone in your chat wrote, "Oh, are you going to mention the tearing down of John and McDonald?" I'm like, okay, but if we're libertarians over here, then who gives a shit? Why do we care about tearing down the dude who started off the whole government system in Canada? Then fuck him too, right? But you're like, right? Okay, how far are we going to go with this? But we all, when you read what he wrote and if you read what the founding fathers of Canada, and let's call them that, they're not that, but you know what I mean. But the founding fathers of Canada, what they wrote, and a lot of their original policies, you can really see is the kind of structures that they wanted Canada to be. And they designed it to become this system, right? The system isn't broken. The system is built specifically to help rich white people be rich. That's literally the point of the system, right? So if we need to recognize these parts of it, because if not, we will never attain true liberty, right? Because then some people will be freer, right? They already have more liberty. And then if we don't recognize that we need to pull up a whole society, is because the society was specifically built to keep everyone down, but specific colored people down. Here in Canada, specifically, it's Indigenous people that were literally written into our constitutions by the Indian Act to keep them down and oppressed as much as possible. So if we want a state that's a true free state for everybody, then we need to recognize those key problems that were, buried in there in the beginning, root them out, and then continue going. Because then you and I won't reach freedom. And the point is to reach equality, to have these conversations with each other in this kind of way,
No, I agree with you. And there's definitely, like I say, but that's why, to me, the most important thing to emphasize is to point at the actual people, like the people in government and those who supported them, and rather than just use the blanket statement. Now, when you use a generalized statement, I'm all for it. But like I say, what I do when I use generalized statement, because sometimes it's just a way to convey a message and to get people start thinking about these issues, because there is some truth underlying in what you're saying. What I always say is just offer that caveat and be nuanced enough so that you're not causing people to be apprehensive towards you needlessly. Because like I say, I'm very thankful that you actually come on here today, because I didn't know you from a hole in the ground on Twitter, but now I know you as a person, and now I'm seeing you're a very reasonable, compassionate, and someone that obviously cares about freedom. So all I'm saying is when you use those statements, because here's the thing, and I like I say, I don't usually like to bring this up, but my background is actually Irish and Scottish. And actually on the east coast of Canada.
Talk about oppressed people, man. Fuck.
Well, this is what I'm saying. But I don't like to do that, because then I could constantly, but you know what? I wouldn't even tell my sons that. Why? Because I don't want them, even though, yes, there's a lot of history where the English, a lot of my families that come here, it might have been because of indentured servitude, right?
A lot of them did. Historically, a lot of your families did make it over because of that.
exactly. So, but that's the thing. But because I would never, the biggest thing for me, and my sons turned out and developed to be such great men. Like, I'm just so proud. I couldn't be more proud. But they don't.
Congratulations. That takes a lot. Congratulations for that, Bennett.
Thank you. Thank you. And I trust me, a lot of the lessons I had to learn from some of the mistakes, how I was raised, that was one thing is I don't want to make the mistakes of my son.
Intergenerational trauma, Bennett. That's what that is.
I get you. And I'm right there with you. But like I say, but to me, I think the healthiest thing we can do for anyone that has oppressed or their type or their people that share the similar heritage or background that are oppressed is, yes, acknowledge that there were past things that were done wrong. But I just don't like this whole thing, and I actually feel bad for the people that are constantly thinking. And because I think of myself, I'm really good. I'm amazing actually at putting myself in other people's perspective. That's something my whole family and anyone who's ever known me said. You have this amazing thing where I can almost like put myself in the other person's position. So I don't know if I just have a lot of empathy or what, but I imagine like if I was, let's say I was a black kid growing up today, I definitely wouldn't want all these people around me, my parents, my aunts, my uncles, all these people telling me that this system is always going to keep me under the thumb and I'm never going to do anything in life, right? No, but because some of them can escape it. Now, definitely tell them to be
very few, right? Comparatively, very few poor black people make it compared to poor white people, and that's where the difference comes in.
You want those few, see, that's the thing, but don't you want those few to benefit? Because if they benefit,
then so take away the whole system.
Other people, right?
Well, that's the point, Bennett. I want everybody to benefit. So get rid of the whole system that's keeping all us down, especially because the system that is oppressing you, Bennett, the exact same system, the policies, the foundations that are oppressing you are oppressing people of color 10 times.
For sure. Yes,
and that's the thing. And that's why we need to get rid of it. But we also need to,
I agree. But we got
to call it out what it is.
But when you say get rid of it, we need something to replace it. Because even you must be.
There's so many ideas about that. You and I, we got to talk again because. Yes. Oh my goodness, we got to talk again because. I'll send you a ton of. There's tons of brilliant academic articles that I'll send you. Some of them are really interesting, talking about. Okay, so the system we know is broken. Well, it's not broken. I keep saying that, but it's not broken. It's designed to fuck us over. So the system has fucked us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Now what? Right? How do we create a solution that every single person benefits? Because that's what we want. We want a happy, healthy community. Because if you're doing better, I'm doing better, and I want to do better, right? Like that's kind of the point of it.
The only thing that's ever worked for people, right? And that's the thing, freedom and liberty, individual sovereignty and liberty, that's the only recipe for success. It doesn't guarantee success, but taking the shackles off, like it's just like with slavery. Could I ever promise, like when slavery ended, if I had been alive back in the day, would I have been able to make a promise that all people that now no longer function as being owned human beings, are they all going to have this great prosperous life? Probably not, but the only thing that I really can do at the end of the day is make sure that I don't support slavery of any kind. I can try to help as many of those people as I can, give them the opportunities. But at the end of the day, once again, we got to get back to allowing every person to have their own personal responsibility to pick up the mantle and do what's best for them. Because that's the other thing too. When we talk,
we need to create the societies that allow, right? You know, the whole bootstrap. Right?
Yep.
Bootstrapping does not work if we have systems specifically in place to keep poor people poor and to keep black and brown people extra poor.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, I agree.
So at the end of the day, we both agree that we need to destroy the systems that fuck you.
I just offer for me, I just want to just for my side, because I'm with you, but I say rather than just tear it down, because what I recognize is what it is I'm being more pragmatic, I think, because I realize that as much as I want to tear it down, you tear it down. I wish we were enough in numbers, but it's not. So what I'm saying is they're never going to let us tear it down. So what I'm saying is let's build outside.
We don't need to let them tear it down. Fuck that. We don't need to let them. We don't need permission to tear it down.
Mind, right? But it's in their minds, though. We can't. How do you like? You can't.
We won't be able to tear it, Bennett. The system will not be able. We won't be able to tear it down or do anything to get rid of the system unless we defund the police and defund the military, because those two powers are the physical manifestation of state violence.
Yes.
And 100%. The way our politics are written, our policy is written, is to allow that state violence in certain specific
100%.
Allocations, which usually involves harming Black, poor, Indigenous people, poor white people, almost on the same level, right? But we do not need to be asking permission from the oppressors.
No,
And that's
no, I'm
that's the thing.
definitely not talking about asking permission. But like I say, so let's use the police for an example, because I've been really talking about this because I love the fact, and I actually reached out to the Black Lives Matter movement on Facebook, and I don't know if they think I'm just like a troll or something, but I genuinely meant it when I said I would love to have a conversation with you folks, because I'm totally in agreement with. But like I say, rather than try to tear down the old, because like I say, that's going to cause a lot of harm. I'm saying start in your communities and just build out from there. So rather than relying on the RCMP, like
What
I say,
does building community mean to you then?
like don't pay taxes, don't support these people.
But you drive on the roads.
Build up your only way. Sorry, what was that?
But if you drive on the roads, you are part of that system. Okay,
No,
what
it's not.
What does building
Yeah.
a good community without police, right?
Yeah.
Like what does your state, right? Your libertarian state look like to you?
No, that's the thing, because the state, really, when you're talking about the state is genuinely a state of mind. So what I'm saying is, and where I live, actually,
that's the word play on words.
Yeah, but it's true. But where I live in New Brunswick, as much as there's a lot of abstract poverty, why I would choose this place rather than a big urban center going through these kind of trials and tribulations is because one thing I've noticed about these real small rural communities is people are very closely knit and they're very much all about taking care of each other. They don't
community.
They don't offload that responsibility to the third party or entity. So when
it's not offloading responsibility. Community is what we're all here for, right?
No, but I'm talking about government. So what I'm saying is in New Brunswick, so rather than people calling, like if somebody goes into your backyard and they're trying to break in or steal something out of your garage, what happens in these small communities is nobody really calls the police per se, is your neighbor catches them and goes out and says, hey, get out of here, boy. Or, that's, so to me, that's how you do it, is you don't have to defund.
That's what I've been saying this whole time, Bennett.
Awesome.
It's about community. That's it. But UBI and defunding the police specifically means funding community so that governmental factors don't have the money to keep fucking with us. Right. So we defund the police.
Here's the problem we have with that, though. Here's the problem that we're going to have with this, and I'm with you 100%. And I've definitely withdrawn all my financial and economic support for the state. I will not be paying taxes. I mean, unless like someone literally puts a gun to my head, or I'm forced because I have to go work for an employer that just refuses.
Well, the RCMP is going to show up at your door, but don't worry. If the RCMP shows up at your door and puts a gun to your head, Bennett, I will be on the streets protesting for you.
Right on. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. But like I say, but what I'm saying though is that these state institutions, these police resources and stuff, they're going to exist. Like as much as if it used to be prior to taking us off the gold standard, it used to be that actually you could withdraw your support, take all your money out of the banks, and systems would collapse. But because they now have fiat currencies where they can just pump as much money into the system as they can, well, until eventually people run out of faith in the actual fiat currency because they see it's constantly being devalued, which will happen at some point in time. But in the interim, even if you or I completely refuse to pay any taxes, they'll just fill up those coffers by printing the digits into a screen. So I wish it was 100 years ago where we could just literally withdraw our economic support from the state and boom, it would come down, collapse real quick. Unfortunately, they've set up the system so that basically no matter what we do, they're going to, at least for the short term, how long that's going to play out, like I say, it relies on the rest of the people, how much more they're willing to see their wages constantly being eroded, their purchasing power.
Reform, man. We need to reform everything. And definitely one of the things that we need to really also focus on, right, when we're talking about taking away our money from these big governmental institutions and having more power to the people, right, literally, and giving more power to communities and to the individual to work within their own community instead of having somebody from Ottawa telling you exactly how it should be when you're like, okay, you've never even been to New Brunswick, never mind my town. You know what I mean? And that's smart. That hurts, having these kind of big government things on top of you to do that is ass, right? And that's how they keep control over us. Yeah. But if we want to create a system that has less community, less police in our communities, that is bounded together more of, helping each other out. Like, let's say your neighbor loses a job. Well, then as a community, okay, I'll bring them some eggs. I'll bring them some extra from my vegetable garden. That kind of true community help. That's
the best way. Yeah,
that's right. That's the only way. That's the only way to our future, because that way we keep it small community, small government, right? And through that, more people succeed, because that way we're actually helping the people that need help, instead of having these blanket government things that come out that, you know, I didn't need the stimulus check. I got it. I donated all of it. I didn't really need my stimulus check. Should I have been getting it? Yes, because all that money now went into the GDP that will help increase people, that help increase jobs, that help increase other people who need money. Like it's in the cycle, and we need to.
Here, no, I get, no, I'm totally on, but here's where we're getting to the CERB thing, and same with minimum wages. And like I say, 10 years ago, I would probably be right there with you, because I didn't spend as much time getting into the economics as much, but I definitely have that, like, I definitely have the compassion. So I'm usually the kind of person that will err on that anyways. But like I say, to me, it's always been a matter of my whole life, personal life, or anything I had dealt with, is I got to have a big heart, but I also got to make sure I'm bouncing out with, like, think about things objectively. So here's the thing. As much as I agree with you that, and people are definitely caught in this death spiral, this death trap, but here's the problem with these minimum wages. As much as they sound good in theory, or even a UBI, you know what that'll really do? You know who benefits from minimum wages or UBI? Is big government. Because every time, like I say, when I was 15, when I started working in a lumberyard when I was 15, that was on the west end of Scarborough, Torrey York Drive it was, I believe. But my minimum wage then was $4.50. Today, to go and work in that same job, you'd get, I think minimum wage is probably $14 up there now. But the cost of everything, so that's like a tripling of my wages, but everything has gone up by 5, 6, maybe 10 times.
Actually, that's not going to happen though, because we're already the wage equality. Like, so the wages that you get, right? Already, like, everything's so expensive. Like, doing groceries for a family of 2 should not cost $100, right?
And
but probably the reason, like, the reason.
If you had gold, that same groceries that you'd buy, you would just require a little tiny sliver of gold.
Well, okay, but that's because we've tied our money to the gold, and that's a completely different thing, though. Like, that's a side topic.
But
the thing,
really, because it shows you that gold is actually what retains your value, because it doesn't have the ability to be manipulated. Government can manipulate.
Well, why do you think, you know, that it was the governments that decided to put it on the gold standard, right? Like, and that can change, and has changed before. Before, it wasn't the gold standard that they were putting things on.
The gold standard was the only thing that restrained governments in the past, because there was no way, like, you can't print gold. They've tried lots of ways to manipulate it. And actually, even if you go back to the Federal Reserve, when it was introduced, or even when you're talking back in the 1930s, when it was revalued under, what was it, Hoover, or I think it was Hoover or whatever, but they had to literally sever the tie and manipulate what the value of their currency was to reflect a whole new paradigm, because they created all the debt. But the gold itself, it maintained that value from 100 years ago.
Because the value of gold is just a random construct. I could say, if I was the the gold of the world, the boss of the world, I said, okay, this much gold is now $100 trillion billion. And then it is, because gold itself doesn't actually have money attached to it. We put money, like, we attach ideas of money onto things.
Yes, but you're right that the construct, that's partly right. But here's the part that allowed gold, and why it's been in existence and continuing use for 5,000 years at least, by all countries around the world that people have gone through oppressive, like the Chinese, big fans of gold, because they understand very, very intrinsically that even though that value it is, we construct this as human beings, because really, does it really have that value? But the reason why gold was chosen, and silver to a lesser degree, but gold, is because of its divisibility. You can't destroy it. So even if you left your gold in your house, and your house caught up in fire and everything burnt to the ground, gold has a lot of intrinsic properties within it, which is why people through like 5 millennia have decided that's going to be the means. Because the British used to use tally sticks, and that used to be, hey, in Netherlands, they used to use, when they were going through their own inflation of their currency, they switched over to tulips, right? So you can use basically anything as a means to measure your value, because really what money is, at the end of the day, proper money, what it's supposed to represent, is supposed to have 3 core functions. So it's a way to measure your value. So whatever you produce, provide in society, it's a way to exchange that value, and it's a way to retain that value for future use. So that's why gold was chosen. Out of all the elements or properties or things that we could use, gold was used throughout all of history, because it has those characteristics.
But it hasn't been used for all of history. Before that, it was the silver sterling standard, and then that tanked the economy when the Spaniards came back full of silver on their way to Spain.
Yeah, well, that's no, but what it is there was much more inflation introduced than the people that currently were willing to
No, there was
accept.
just a lot more silver put in than there was,
Yeah,
and they're like, oh shit, now silver is worth nothing because there's so much of it.
Yeah, well, that is exactly and precisely what happens if you don't have a proper accounting and exchange or a medium to measure that stuff. But that silver, like I say, what gives silver and gold? It doesn't. That's the thing. You can't print silver and gold. So the reason why silver to a lesser extent, and definitely the British sterling was definitely a mainstay for their empire for sure. But like I say, the main thing about those things is that you can't just easily or arbitrarily create them out of thin air. That was, even though, like I say, there's still, and this is why I'm saying part of what you're saying.
Now we're going, like that's just Keynesian theory, right? So I sat through that lecture already.
yeah, but Keynes was also the guy that thought that government stimulating the economy. But that's the thing. Actually, a lot of people that study Keynes don't even take into account, if they were actually modern Keynesians, they would have said, actually, after the economic crisis, government should have turned off the taps like a couple years later when the economy seemed like it was doing okay. But that's the thing.
But governments aren't people, right? Like they can spend and spend and spend, and
yeah. Well, what it is
there's more money in, like
there's two economies. There's the economies that the central planners use to benefit themselves and the rest, and then there's the economy that we all function under.
I know. I know what the IMF does, and I know what the Central Bank of Canada does.
Yeah. So the fiat currencies we all function under now, we still all function under where our economic prosperity and our labor is constantly being devalued, and the price increases as a reflection of all that devaluation shows up in the cost of everything that we consume. But the central planners, when they stimulate the economy and they get that money first, and they can use that money to make money because they're using it on the speculative valuations of the stock market that are completely outstripped from any underlying fundamentals in the market economy. That's why they call them unicorns. A lot of these companies that are listed on the stock exchange is because they literally don't exist in the real.
Yeah, that's shell corporations and like that's been known. That's been known. Like, yeah, that's no problem. But like the key, I think we keep kind of diverging because we're just too interesting, Bennett.
It is.
We can't help ourselves.
I'm actually, believe it or not, it's actually almost 2.5 hours.
I know.
That's probably the fastest 2.5 hours it's ever gone by for me in quite a long time. So
thank you so much for being allowing me to come on and for us to really have a conversation that wasn't so filled with, there's only 140 characters on Twitter.
I know. I don't like Twitter for that. I hate that.
Or 240, whatever the new one is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's why I'll put stuff on Twitter that's why. But people think that, like, even today, like, people will say, "Oh, you just want people to go on your channel so you can monetize it, make it." Tell you the truth, I don't monetize these streams now because every time I try, YouTube's got it set up where you got to answer all these questionnaires, and if there's any profanity or if you talk about COVID or if there's just so many layers that I know they're going to demonetize me anyway. So from now on, like, I don't even hit the monetization, and you'll see that this one. So, and even if I did, for the few views I'm going to get on this, it's like, what do you think? I'm going to make what, $1? Yeah. I'm trying to game you I've spent more time today than $1 would be worth. So yeah. So come on.
Well, I appreciated your time spent with me. I appreciate it, Bennett. And I just want to leave with last thoughts, wrap up the whole point of me being here. Is that definitely that we are in agreement completely that we need to get rid of this system that holds so many, like the majority of people, it holds them down under their thumb. We need to get rid of that system. We instead need to create a system that is built on community, more local, so we can actually have the ability to help each other out and help each other out in ways that are actually necessary, right? If we know that our local, the local childcare center is doing poorly, then everyone, pulls together and helps do that instead of giving money to the ministry who knows what the fuck they're going to do with it. And then the bottom class people never see change from that. Right. Yeah. So we end up with our great, like, this is great. So we both ended up agreeing that we need to get rid of the system. We need to work a community-based system that actually helps each other out. And my final point, which I know we don't agree on, but I got to say it. Also, we need to all really recognize that there are different levels of oppression that are being put on people through the government, same big government that is screwing you over. Oh, sorry, country internet garbage.
Just one sec. Oh, just say that last bit again. It froze up there real quick where you were kind of jumping in and out just for a second. But if you want to just finish that last point that you had there, because
community building is my last point. Build communities together so they're stronger for all of us, and also recognize that the government is harming people at different levels, and we need to recognize that some people are being harmed actively a lot more than other groups of people. So we need to get together, help our most harmed people, build it up, and throw over this fucking system. Like, I'm over it. Let's get rid of it. Burn it down, Bennett. Burn it down.
Well, like I say, while anyone that's doing the burn it down, I'll be over here trying to build up something that will have a place.
We're building too. Don't think we're not building. I'll send you those academic articles I was talking about. You'll see the new.
Well, that's all I would suggest, because like I say, the tearing the down, I get you with the tearing down, but like I say, just make sure you got something to fill that void, because that's basically what happened even after the Enlightenment era.
Oh yeah,
right?
Bennett. We are right now in this period of history, we are the most educated we have ever been historically. We have, like you were saying earlier about the printing press, right? We have the most access to information and sharing that information than we have ever been before. Really, things are looking up for us. They really are, because we have a lot more tools to move forward, and we have a lot more tools. We have a lot more academics who have been big thinkers, who have been sitting and thinking about these problems for the longest period of time. Like, we got this. We just got to keep plugging away at it and make sure we protect our most vulnerable of our population.
That is, and what you just said there is so, it's so, like, I love stating that. That's actually something I talk about all the time, because as a guy that was born and raised in a very poor family, and I remember my parents had to scrimp and save, and I remember when they finally bought the dictionary or the Encyclopedia Britannica, the whole set, it was like thousands of dollars back in the 70s or whatever, I think it was. And like, that people donated to them. Like, it had a whole lot of people, church groups and all that try to help so that the kids in the community had their parents could have some of these things. And I remember just how difficult it was to even get that kind of knowledge, right? But now, like you're saying, now you have everybody. We all have access. If you have an internet connection, you have access to some of the greatest minds and thinkers, not just who are alive today, but in the past. And you can learn and study about things that, a lot of people you go through the education system in this country, you're going to come out ignorant to a lot of things that Anna here and I understand, which is why you got to take that responsibility on yourself and start learning. Take advantage of the fact that you live in the age of information. Steroids. I do, because I have, like I say, even though I'm an old guy, like almost 50 years old, this old dog has been learning new tricks for the last 10 years, and I'm very happy, and I'm constantly, and I'm still not done. I'm going to spend the rest of my life is striving to learn more and more, because what I realize, that's another thing, and you've probably heard this term before, is like, the more I know, the more I realize that I don't know that much after all, right? So I'm constantly trying to expand on my knowledge and what I can bring, and then hopefully reciprocate that by offering it to other people, like to try to take some of these concepts, put them into simple terms, because that's the other thing. Sometimes you read these books, and now, me being a layman, I don't have any formal academic education, but what I can do is I can take the fact that I have a pretty good ability, I have a pretty good mind, I guess, on my shoulders, in my head, and I have the ability to kind of put things in layman terms, and that helps a tremendous amount of people that don't necessarily want to go read, Friedrich Nietzsche or Aristotle or any of these people, right?
I didn't want to have to do that for my degree. Oh God, that was the worst. 0 out of 10 recommend for those watching at home. Read, I don't know, don't. Love yourself.
But like you say, though, in the age of information, and I've kind of love sharing that meme, is ignorance is a choice. And that's really what we have at the end of the day, because ideas and the ability to spread those ideas are very powerful. And that's why the established media and the political class are hell-bent on trying to suppress anyone's ability to do that, because they're fearful of the power that it could be when we can actually come together as community. And actually, me and you talking today,
power to the people.
Me and you talking today, because you would probably identify as like left, right? I'm
Venezuelan. I've seen what the advance.
Either way, I was hoping that I could say
I'm anti-colonial. You can define me as anti-colonial, anti-racism.
Okay, whatever it is, all I know is people that, if some third-party observer looking on would say these are two people that should, have so many agreements, they'll never talk to each other, right? Well, we just showed with a perfect example today that we can actually respect each other's sovereignty. We can respect each other's ideas. We can respect each other's, freedoms and liberties, and just figure out what's going to be best, that you can get to do what you want to do. I get to do what I want to do, but we just have to restrain ourselves from imposing ourselves on each other. And if we can get to that, that's why I want to have these conversations. And if you know anyone that's from the Black Lives Matter, hey, Antifa people.
Me, I'm part of the movement.
Sorry?
I'm part of the Black Lives Matter movement
Oh, are
in
you?
my small
Okay.
town. Yeah,
Well,
of
like you
course.
say, and if there's
Tear
anyone,
down,
right?
tear down all of the systems that harm you and that harm me. We're
That's
here together, and the systems that harm you harm me just as much or more because I'm a woman of color. So I'm double as pissed. Like I hate that these systems have made you lose your job, that
yeah.
you don't get to succeed how you want to
Yeah.
succeed
I lost an entire
because
decade of my life and the worst time in my life too.
yeah, because of this system. I'm pissed for you because you're my brethren. You're my brother. You're a fellow human being. I love and cherish you. So I want to see you succeed. So fuck the systems that are screwing you over, and I'll be right there next to you to build something beautiful, community-based, where we can all succeed and have the chance to really pull ourselves up our boots.
I just got a little chill there, Anna. That was very nice. Actually, that was a very heartfelt thing that you said, Dan. It really did. It resonates with me, and I really appreciate it. And like I say, before I let you go, just mention to anyone else that you're having out there that's wanting to talk with people and try to have a conversation, because that's what I think the most important thing to do is let's reach across that divide and let's lead by example and show that no, we can talk to each other, and we don't have to put on these false pretenses that like I'm any superior to you or you're superior. Let's just talk to each other, because I think at the end of the day, I think most of us, like I say, everyone I've ever engaged with in my life, even when I used to deliver to the First Nation community in Fredericton, people used to say, "Oh, you don't want to go there." I go there. These guys are trying to offer me beer. I couldn't do it, obviously, because I'm working, but really, the most friendly, nicest people I ever met. And every time I have these examples where I interact with someone that other people told me, "Oh, no, you shouldn't like those people." But every time I challenge that premise and I find out, oh, they're just a fucking normal human being like anyone else. And they're more reasonable than the asshole that probably warned me, right? So I always use my own personal experience and forget about what other people say about people. And like I say, I might have been apprehensive towards you if I had allowed other people to say, "Oh, you don't want to deal with anyone that's part of the Black Lives Matter." I don't give a shit. Like I say, I don't deal with you based on any of these other characteristics other than who you are, Anna, as a person, right? And that's really all that matters to me at the end of the day. And I wish you the best and anyone else the best. Well, there is someone that I don't. The people that are trying to fuck us all over, I don't wish any of these people the best.
Preach, Bennett. Preach. Fuck those people. Fuck those people. And I will leave you. I have to go. But I will leave you on one last thing.
Yep.
Sanitize, wash your hands. Do not go out there getting the Rona. Like, don't, okay?
All right.
Wash your hands. And your wife, too. If you're not wearing masks, do that. Sanitize as much as you can. I do not want to see you getting sick, okay?
Right on. Thank you.
My only ask.
No worries. I appreciate your concern.
All right. Well, thank you kindly. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yep. Right on. And like I say, if you ever want to do it again, just reach out to me anytime. We're now connected on Twitter. So just reach out, send a message, and I'll bring you on anytime again.
Deal. Also, thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
You have a great weekend. Take it easy. See ya. Well, that was great. I actually really enjoyed that conversation. I kind of suspected that. See, that's the thing. That's why, like I say, folks, getting too up in arms and apprehensive towards people that you may perceive as being an opponent in some way, like I say, just put down the barriers, put down the nonsense, and just talk to them. Because, like I say, we can't allow another decade or more, or not just decades. We can't allow more time to continue to march by. Where not just white people, brown people, black people, all kinds of people in Canada, the US, all over the world are oppressed by people that love using force, coercion, and theft as their means to an end. Once again, we have the power of the people and the power of ideas. And the power of the people and the power of ideas are something that can really challenge the status quo, the establishment, or those who do want to rule over us. But the only way it happens is if we're willing to put aside our petty differences and stand in solidarity with each other. Whether we agree with each other fundamentally on everything, at least if we can agree to the very simple things, like I say, just don't use force and theft, right, towards each of us. And if we can agree to those terms, then literally the sky is the limit. So, like I say, really glad that Ava or Anna, sorry, come on to the show. And if there's anyone else that's watching the stream as well, if you too want to get involved in these conversations, like I say, I'm always looking to reach out and talk to people. And I set aside, usually in the run of a week, I'll usually set aside up to 3 days, even if need be. It just depends on what kind of demand there is, like to have like these kinds of conversations. But I'm always willing to set aside time in my day and in my life to have these conversations, because I realize that's what needs to be done, folks. That's really what needs to be done. But anyways, I'm going to look and see a few of you folks in the chat, see how everyone's doing. And actually probably start at the bottom once again, because I know it's been a while. So, oh, Anna, sorry. It's a narco state. Yeah, right on. It's a narco state, right on. Venezuela isn't socialist. Well, yeah, it's definitely not. I don't know what it is now currently, but anyways, like I say, really enjoyed our chat there, Anna. What time are we at here? So, okay, Corey, haha, what's the Rika here? She left the socialist country to spread socialism. Yeah, she didn't really say too much about that. Like I say, baby steps when you're talking about people. Like I say, we really didn't get too much into the underlying economics that she kind of promotes and stuff. But like I say, at the very least, I am very happy that we had this conversation, because like I say, there, you know, some people, even if people want to do anything that are kind of aligned with socialism, although I don't think she actually identified as socialist, but either way, even if she was, that teach their own. Like I say, just don't force me to participate in your endeavor, and you do your thing. Like that's the thing. That's the beautiful thing about the free market and freedom in general, is a lot of people choose to do things different than other people. And you know what? That's okay. As long as you don't get to force that stuff on me, right? Or impose it on me or anyone else, then you do you and I do me. That's the beauty of liberty. Brought to you by George Soros. Leave the building for something. I felt so inspired by her. That's good. I felt somewhat inspired by her. Now I know you're my bro. Right on. Thanks, Paul. Like I say, to me, it's important. It's important to talk to people, and rather than misrepresent them or just use, you know, their tweets that you disagree with as fodder to just, you know, like make them look bad. Yeah, that you get very tiny benefit out of that. And then it's a lot of bad stuff that comes over. So I'd rather not do that. I'd rather just talk to a person, because like I say, I do kind of have that enough faith in most people, in most of humanity, that most people don't want to, you know, cause harm to each other. Most people, I think, just want to live and be left the hell alone, right? To do their thing, to learn and to strive to navigate through life and go through their own, you know, errors and corrections and trials and tribulations. But at the very least, to have the freedom to make different choices, to make maybe informed choices, and to learn from their mistakes. Give them that freedom and offer them support when you can properly do so. And like I say, that usually tends to have a reciprocal effect, because the more you can help other people out, the more they'll wish or intend or be emboldened to want to reciprocate that and do the same for you. So once again, it really at the end of the day, what it comes down to is just reach out across the divide to whoever you may perceive, well, except for those ones that, you know, the ones that are saying that they want to see you dead or something. Yeah, probably not the kind of person you want to reach across the divide. But people that even disagree with you vehemently, try it. What harm do you got, right? What harm is it going to cause just to have a conversation with someone? Like I tell you, not only did this conversation not cause any harm, it's actually been a benefit to me. And I feel much better off today having that conversation. And like I say, now it's going to inspire me and embolden me even further to hopefully try to keep reaching across those divide and having more and more engaging discussion. And hopefully at some point in time, if we can get enough of people like myself having these, or other people out there that are having these discussions, like I say, that can spread these ideas, you know, these inspirational ideas can spread really quickly if we get enough people discussing them, right? Anyways, I know I've been rambling on for a long time already, so I'm going to tie up this stream. Thank you for everyone that did show up. I really appreciate it. Where else we got here? What's this? Hey, Bennett, pull the pin, man. Oh, yeah, I am. I am tying it up. Right on. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'm done. Like I say, really appreciate all you folks that joined the stream. And I do see that everyone's kind of dwindling, and I am tying up because it has been going on quite long. But I will say once again that that conversation went by really quick. I really enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll have another conversation again going forward. So everyone have a great weekend. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.